This episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast is brought to you by JList.com. JList.com has some new imported console games straight from Japan. They currently have Persona 5 The Royal, Azure Lane Crosswave, the Grisaya Trilogy, Clan Ad for the Switch, Kill la Kill, and so much more. They are currently having their Black Friday sale until December 2nd. If you spend up to $100, you can get 10% off your order. Spend over $100, you can get 20% off. So head over to JList.com for all of your anime shopping needs and maybe pick up some Christmas presents for your loved ones. This episode is also brought to you by Bookwalker. Do you have a craving for manga or light novels? Head over to Bookwalker to check out their large selection of digital manga and light novels. They have some very well-known series such as Vinland Saga, Konosuba, Attack on Titan, and Domestic Girlfriend. They also offer a free book once a month, and you can use their coin reward program where every purchase gets you closer to receiving a free book. So go to global.bookwalker.jp and sign up. After creating a new account, use the promo code AAAPOD to get 600 yen off your first purchase. Now, let's start the podcast.
Wow, 来てくれてありがとう. You're listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Take your anime addiction to the next level at aaapodcast.com/join. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 499 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast, where our dedication is to make your anime addiction worse. So, hey, you only have two of us to deal with today. Welcome.
Only two.
Only two. Mitsuki is out, Enzo is currently very busy, so it's just me and Mason today.
I'm implying that we're not busy, but we do it because
yeah.
We're
always busy. So, welcome. We have a lot of stuff coming up today. Since Mason and I are on the show together, we decided to do something different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's get through some of our just housekeeping. If you would like to join the Anime Addicts, you can go to apodcast.com/join to create an account. And if you sign up, you can get so much more bonus content. You can get hentai episodes, hobby addicts episodes, or after parties. And you can get like up to eight additional episodes per month for less than $1. Today, we recorded a hobby addicts where I talked a lot more about Pokemon. Well, we both talked about Pokemon.
we talked a little bit. I did a dance in Pokemon on air.
Yeah, it's true.
You had to be there.
Mason was dancing, doing the Poke Dance, and he also talked a little bit about some of the museums he went to in New York. So if you sign up, you can get that. We also have a hentai episode coming up later today where Mason and I are going to be talking about some very well-known hentai manga and light novels.
Some classics.
Yes, some very infamous ones.
Infamous is a better word. Infamous is a very good word to describe what we're going to be talking about.
Ones that have stories. So we will be talking about Emergence, JK Haru, and Urosuki Doji. So again, if you'd like to sign up, you can get all of that. Also, please be sure to follow us on Twitch so you can get updated for when we are streaming. And if you go to Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/groups/AA podcast to talk to some of your addicts there and also to get updates on stuff that we have going on in the community. Join our Discord, and there's a link to that on our website. And we have all kinds of clubs and things you can join to interact with each other and also with us. So why don't you tell everyone about what we have going on in gaming?
Yeah, so we've mentioned it before, but we've got the gaming roll all set up, all going on, so you can get notified when either fellow members of the community are doing game nights, which are usually on Fridays, or when Mandy or myself, or it's not usually a word, it's and, we usually are streaming games together. We're actually almost done with the console, which is a pretty fun, miraculous, spooky, cultish, murder, mystery, detective, adventure game, kind of thing. And it's been a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
But since we're almost done with it, I think we're eyeballing Danganronpa.
Yes, we
play
are.
next. Mm-hmm. But we'd love to hear suggestions on what else we should partake in.
Yeah, we also have my manga club. This Wednesday, we'll be talking about Beastars. That'll be the first 2 volumes. And these first two volumes, if you're watching the currently running anime, you don't have to worry about spoilers because everything has already been covered in the anime. So if you would like to just grab the books and join us on Wednesday, we'll be discussing those. And if you go to our Discord and go down to the manga club channel and check the pin notes, you can find out the times, the exact chapters we'll be discussing, and stuff that's coming up later. So do that, and it's a lot of fun.
We also have the Anime Club, which just this past week we discussed Genkutsuo, which is the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yes.
And guys, you need to read some more books. This is a classic, and it's so good. And I'm upset that I missed the discussion, but
you came in
classic.
at the very end.
At the very end, when we were talking about Penguin Highway, and I was like, "Oh, how did we get here?"
Mm.
But I was thinking, actually, obviously, the Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas is like what inspired this directly. But you started watching Gintama recently.
Yes.
And that is like the Don Quixote of anime.
Yes.
If you've ever read that book, it's like long and goofy, but somehow like really sincere. And
yes.
So if you like if you like Gintama, read Don Quixote. If you like Don Quixote, I guess watch Gintama. That's my message. But more importantly, on December 4th at 10 p.m. EST, Anime Club is going to be discussing Anthem of the Heart, which is just a movie. It's pretty darn good. So it's very easy to pick that up, get through it, and join the discussion. So watch the movie, December 4th, jump in on Discord, and join the discussion.
And it's open to anyone, so you don't have
anybody,
to be...
even you.
Actually,
I take it back. Especially you. Just for you, actually. It's open. You the listener, not you, Mandy. You can join me.
Oh man, I thought that I had special privileges all of a sudden.
Oh no.
Even I can join.
Just the person listening to this. I'm giving you a special Mason invite. You just hold it up to the bouncer at the Discord server, and you say, "Mason said I could come in," and we'll let you in. So, with that kind of invitation, who could refuse? Anyway, what actually are we going to do this episode?
We have a very packed episode today. So, in the past, we have picked a lot of anime for reviews that somehow fell off the track somewhere and got lost. So Mason and I, because Enzo and Mitsuki, not Mason, Enzo and Mitsuki are not here, Mason and I are going to go back and just choose a couple of those anime and give them actual reviews. So we'll be doing reviews on Juuni Taisen, Sakura Quest, Jojo Part 4 Diamond is Unbreakable, and Welcome to the Ballroom. And then after that, we'll be doing a review on Sarazanmai. So
we're just sweeping up the trash. We are, well, not to imply that these shows are trash, but extreme house cleaning today. Yes. We're getting deep into the cobwebs. This is a once a year, clean behind the chimney, stuff that never gets done. We're doing all that today.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So we also have results for listener choice poll. Why don't you...
So this is what you guys voted on. So we, passed 8 shows from the season that we thought were pretty darn good. And you guys said, actually, you missed one. And you went online and you voted on the show that you thought that we should go back and add to our list of things to review. It was a very close vote.
Yeah.
Way closer across 3 things than I thought it was going to be. So essentially, in third place, which got the third most amount of votes, was No Guns Life, which is a show I failed because it was good, but just not as good as what else I thought was out there.
Yeah, we had a lot this season.
Yeah, so that was pretty much 20% of the votes. So it was right up there.
Yeah.
The second show, actually, none of us did an impression on.
Yeah.
It just kind of fell through the gaps, and people have been hyping it up. And in second place is Oresuki, Are You the Only One Who Loves Me, which is a romantic comedy that has also at about 20% of the votes, and people are really digging it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of upset we missed that one.
I honestly thought that this one was going to win because I've heard people talk about it so much. So I was surprised that it didn't win first place, but I should probably check it out at some point. I have so much to watch right now.
Yeah.
It's hard.
If it's good enough, it'll stay in the public sphere and we'll always chat about it.
Yeah.
But in first place, and therefore the show that we will be doing an eventual review of, edging out by only 2% of votes. So if you don't like these results, you should have voted.
That's me doing the drum roll.
Cautious Hero at 23% essentially, and that's the one that Mitz failed because once again he was liking it, but we were like, there's better stuff, and you guys saw it otherwise. So we will be adding Cautious Hero to the list of things to review at the end of the season. So
the guy who's definitely played too much Dark Souls and got burned by it.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. I can dig it. I have not seen a second of this show, and I love it already. The last thing, just a reminder, the exclusive, once again, exclusive name of the game, RSS feed is now live, which means you get all the stuff Mandy talked about earlier, the hentai, hobby, and after party shows, all in your convenient mobile podcast apps. I'm not going to name them all. You know what you already have. It's all the Cast, Pocket, Apple, boxes, overs, downs, up, sideways, you know. So if you have an app, for the most part, you have access to our exclusive feeds. So sign up online and do that to be more addicted than you ever were before.
Awesome. Thank you.
And
is there anything else you want to talk about before we get into big news? Anything that we missed?
No, I think we're good. Let's do it.
All right, let's go into big news of the week.
It's time for big news of the week.
Alrighty, so also, one thing I forgot to mention is that because Mitsuki is not here, I do not have his sound system, so I'm doing drops in a very different way, and so I keep accidentally have to increase and decrease the volume of them, so I apologize. But
listen,
they'll sound great on the iTunes version.
Yeah, if you guys are watching this live or listening live, Mandy is doing so much right now.
Yeah.
That, she essentially did all of the notes. She did all of the work, all of the drops, all of the commercials. She's carrying the team on her back as I lazily flop around because I've been traveling a lot this week and just not in my usual situation. So props to Mandy no matter what happens. And by that I mean all blame goes to Mandy. I'm kidding. Anyway, what happened this week? What the heck?
Yeah, and this big news of the week, Kodansha wins 160 million yen lawsuit against 3 pirate site admins. Of course, I am running the show this week, so, of course you're going to get manga news. And the Osaka District Court awarded Kodansha its claim for 160 million yen, which is about equivalent of $1.47 million. And it is against 3 admin sites of the Haruka Yume no Ato manga leech site on Tuesday. The 3 administrators of the site already received guilty sentences for copyright infringement back in January, and the court denied their appeal on November 1st. In the January sentencing, the 3 men received 3 different prison sentence lengths. 3 years and 6 months, another one got 3 years, another one got 2 years and 4 months, all without suspended sentences. And the Association of Copyright for Computer Software estimated that at the time of the arrest, the website had caused 73.1 billion yen, which is around $640 million in damage through lost sales. That's insane. The Mainichi Shimbun reported in October 2018 that Japan's Agency for Cultural Affairs intends to ban leech sites through revisions of the Copyright Act this year. So, maybe just buy your manga legally.
Yeah, be a good patron.
Yeah, so that's insane. It's insane how much manga artists lose out because of these pirate sites, but that's why I always try to keep mine completely legit.
Yes.
For those who don't know, every manga minute, every book club, every time I talk about a manga, I bought it legally, so yeah. But up next we have my manga minute. We're switching things around this week because since we have so much much review coming up, we switched it around. So we're putting some things that happen in the second half
front loading with all the manga.
Yes.
Make your manga addiction first, and then we're gonna make your anime addiction first.
Yes. So let's get into my manga minute.
And now, let's take a minute for the manga minute with Mandy.
This is Mandy's Manga Minute, where I tell you about a manga and help you find something new to read. And this one is called Drifting Dragons, and it is sponsored by Bookwalker. The crew of the airship Queen Zaza makes their living hunting dragons. Succeed, and the reward is riches and all the meat they can eat. Fail, and all that awaits them is a messy end. Follow the grand hunting and cooking adventure of the Queen Zaza as they chase dragons across the sky. Drifting Dragons is a slice-of-life comedy manga and adventure manga written and illustrated by Taku Kuwabara. It is still currently publishing with 4 volumes currently available in English, and it is currently only available digitally, but there are some printed versions coming out in English. They're up for pre-order right now. The manga is episodic, and as we follow the lives of drakers, who are the ones who hunt dragons, as they fly through the sky and take down these dragons. And each chapter involves hunting a new type of dragon, the kill, and then a little cooking lesson at the end of the book. So if you have
Sign me up for the cooking lesson.
I know. If you have read Delicious in Dungeon, it's sort of like that, where we even get like dragon recipes for everything, dragon steaks and all kinds of stuff. In the first volume, we focus more on the job than the characters, and a man by the name of Takita receives the most attention, and this man lives only for the hunt. The only thing he's excited for is tasting new dragon dishes. It's basically Mason in a fantasy world.
I love it. I love it so much.
As for the art, I actually kind of like it. The action scenes, I think, are where it struggles a bit. They're not always very clear, but I do like the strange dragon designs because they don't look like your typical dragon. They instead have like tentacles and large fins, and they kind of just sort of float through the sky. But it's an interesting manga, and if you like Delicious in Dungeon or looking for a different type of fantasy slice of life manga, then give it a shot. There's also an anime coming out next season by Polygon Pictures.
Ooh, nice.
And this one was sponsored by Bookwalker. So like I said at the beginning of the show, sign up at global.bookwalker.jp and use the promo code AAPOD and you get $6, around 6 yen off, or 600 yen off your first purchase. But it has to be a new account. And this book is there, and we have a page where you can see a bunch of other stuff that we've recommended in the past, and we'll put a link to that in it's in the show notes, and we'll also put it in our live stream chat in Discord. So yeah, go over there and get some books.
Do the monsters look kind of like the creatures out of Maiden of... Would you say it's similar to that design at all? Where they're kind of like wispy, but like rooted in like, oh, this is a dragon, but like not quite the stereotypical.
Yes, yeah.
They're kind of like twisted a bit.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Like it doesn't look like a typical lizard with wings or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, they look different. They call them dragons, but if I had seen them. Like, if they never called them dragons, I would never have guessed that's a dragon.
Gotcha.
I would just been like, it's just like a floating monster in the sky.
Yeah, okay.
But there are different types, though. There is one that kind of looks like a little wyvern, and it was really funny in that chapter because they weren't supposed to kill it. No spoilers, but it was a very silly chapter.
Nice.
But yeah, so up next, we have a waifu war. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
In the game of waifus, you either win or you are late to anime school. Cake will be thrown, ice cold tea will be served. Who will be top in the class and who will be flunked in Mason's waifu wars?
Big explosion.
Explosion.
Mass heist.
After you.
So I hope everyone who is listening to this is either about to have or recently had an excellent Thanksgiving, because this was a week of Thanksgiving, and because of all that, the theme for this month, and actually the final installment of the theme, is waifus that you could bring home to your family.
Aww.
I have no clever introduction for this other than to present Inaba Himiko from Kokoro Connect as this month's entry. Have you ever seen this show, Mandy?
Mm-hmm. We also did the manga for Manga Club.
Oh, yeah.
You were there for that one.
Yeah, I was. Anyway.
But I do know who you're talking about, yes.
Excellent. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, Kokoro Connect is a 2012 series by Silverlink, and it's probably right up there with Tanaka-kun as my favorite from that studio.
Oh, man, I love Tanaka-kun so much.
They're both so good. So like the description of the show indicates that it's like a standard like love pentagram show with like quirky hijinks and trials in the form of like they do like, body swapping and like mystery like cult powers like makes their like unconscious emotions like take over. They have mind reading abilities and like all these various like weird things that happen. And it's kind of like typical on like the service and like oh this is a very like generic show on based on what the summary would tell you. But this show somehow captures so much life and energy and it infuses it into the characters and it really is way better than it has any right to be.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't like really break new ground or change the landscape of a high school romantic comedy, but it's one of my favorite in like the sheer amount of heart and like earnestness that like it pulsates with. The characters are phenomenal, despite being very quote unquote anime at times. Like they're very relatable in their emotions. But of all the characters, of which there's plenty of quality picks, one clearly rises to the top, and that's Inaba, or Inaban as she's sometimes called. She's like the smart, she's rational, she's competent, she like knows computers, like she builds them and she programs, so like she's very like straight line, rational, like she has no tolerance for like disorder.
I think she's also voiced by Miyuki, right? Sawashio?
Is that the same person who did
Celti and Durarara? Yes, Kanbaru?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Her voice is spectacular.
Yeah,
I didn't want to bring it up.
Great voice actress. I love her.
Oh my goodness. Her voice is like just go online and look up like Inaba just best of moments and you'll be like, "Oh my goodness, this is so precious. So good." And she's like super in control. Like she can't be pushed around by anyone. Like she's considerate of people, but she like gets to the heart of the matter, and like when things get off the rails she's like not delicate about anything. Super logical, and you don't have to worry about like obtuse communication being an issue in this relationship because that's what matters, and she will tell you what's what. She's got good posture, which reminds me I need to do the same.
Me too.
Indicating like a proper upbringing, and she's got like the discipline to keep it up. Her eyes have this like piercing righteous judgment that are just like, ooh, she looks into your soul and she scares the crap out of you. Her outfits are like mature and plain. She's not like needlessly showy or revealing, but by far her best feature, something that like catapults her over eons of other waifus.
The snark. I'm just kidding.
Is it the most like smug, triumphant, and like game-changing grins? Like there's so many moments in the show where she makes this transition saying something like she's normally very straight face in series, but her transition when she says something that's like gives her complete and utter victory and she like slowly breaks down and her like reserved like mature demeanor just like becomes adorable and like she gets this huge like mile wide conquering smile and it's just like brings so much joy to my life whenever it happens. It's just a joy to watch. And like, oh my goodness, she just, I don't know, she just has like, she's not like the classic tsundere, but she just plays the role so well, and that's why she's not a tsundere. She's the one and only Dareban in all of existence, and a proper waifu, and for a proper family. So check out the show if you haven't seen it, and it's a trip. It's fun. It's good. Watch the OVA.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
What was the name of the girl in that show who always put on a mask? I can't remember her name. It's been a while since I've watched it.
It's been a hot minute, yeah.
Yeah. I like that character too, but yeah, Inaba's...
It's kind of a reminder to check out this show because it's good and way better than what one might expect when they're like, oh, it's a love pentagram thing.
Yeah, it's like we've seen a lot of series with switching body kind of themes. This one is probably one of the better ones that I've seen.
Yeah, because it feels somehow it just feels so real that you're like, I get it. I get what's going on, even though it's a little goofy. But it's a good time. And check out Tanaka-kun while we're at it.
Yes, please watch Tanaka-kun. I watched it like 3 times in a row. So.
Yeah, unironically. You're like, I'm watching episode 7 again. I'm like, really? Again already? Like, you just finished. You're like, oh, I already finished my first rewatch. I'm on my 3rd. I'm like, oh, no.
And I tried to get everyone else to watch it too. I was like, hey guys, you want to watch Tanaka-kun?
People watch Tanaka-kun, watch Kokoro Connect. And then then actually you should probably get out and socialize with your family a bit for Thanksgiving. Don't
bit.
be a weirdo. Get out there.
Make
be
them
a
watch
friendly
it at
person.
Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Convert your entire family into Beebs.
Yes. Oh my goodness, so true. Let's get to trivia.
Yeah.
Let's get the show on the road. So first we have our online trivia, which you can find on aaapodcast.com. I'm guessing, I don't know. That's what people tell me, and I believe it.
I've never been to that website in my life.
I can't remember. I can't expect to know how many A's are actually in our name. Like it's like banana. Like when does it end? It's like BANANANA. Who knows? No one. You just smash a bunch of A's, you'll get there. Anyway, the answer for this week was My Neighbor the Yamadas. Classic film that Mitz is a big fan of. Mm-hmm. Winner for the week is Captain Avatar. So congrats to you. And we're continuing the theme of anime friends and family for November. We also, however, have this in-show weekly trivia question, which right here, at this very second, at this very moment, you are playing. So, for the price of nothing and the prize of nothing, if you can get this right, good on you. And the question is, in Sakura Quest, Yoshino Koharu is hired to help revitalize a farming town. What is the town's name? We'll let you know in about 5 minutes. So hang tight. We'll see you then.
Don't go anywhere. Hey, all you anime addicts! While Mitsuki's away, Manny's at play. So that means you're all stuck with me this week. So, why don't we go ahead and see what's going on in anime news. Funimation announced last Wednesday that the Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood anime and the first 2 seasons of Black Butler will return to their streaming service this Wednesday. Both shows will be available in English and Japanese with English subtitles. Funimation's streaming rights for Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood expired back in March of 2016, and Black Butler expired in 2017. So it's nice to have both of these popular anime back where people can legally stream them again. Funimation also announced that more content from Aniplex will be coming soon. So while one anime may be coming back, unfortunately a currently airing anime may be going away for a short time. Babylon's next arc is delayed until December 30th. Babylon is currently streaming on the Amazon Prime platform and is taking a hiatus until later next month. I couldn't really find a reason for this delay, but after last week's episode, I'm sure fans are going to be very disappointed to know they will need to wait a month to see what comes next. Up next, Midori Kato, voice actress for Saze in the anime of Michiko Hasegawa's Saze-san manga, received the Guinness World Record for the longest career as a voice actor for the same character in an animated television series on Sunday. In addition, the Guinness World Records Committee extended the world record to longest-running animated television series for the Saze-san anime. In 2013, the show was awarded the Guinness World Record for longest-running animated television series. The anime of Hasegawa's family life, manga Saze-san, began airing back in October of 1969. So this anime has been around for quite some time, and it's usually the highest-ranked animated series in Japan every week. Kato has voiced the title heroine since the anime's premiere, so she's been working for a while. And finally, Pokemon Sword and Shield has become the fastest Switch game to sell 6 million copies. They announced on Thursday that the newest generation of Pokemon sold more than 6 million units worldwide during its first week. The games broke the records of highest first week sales of a Switch game and the fastest Switch game to reach 6 million copies sold. Whew, that was a mouthful. Nintendo also announced that the game sold more than 2 million copies in the United States during their first 2 days, which marks the highest grossing launch for a Pokemon game in the US. So, people love them some Pokemon, and I've been enjoying the game for the past week. So, yeah, it's good to see that it's getting some sales. Thank you for sticking around. Mitsuki should be back next week, but this was your anime news break. Now, let's get back to the show.
My friends are annoyed because they think I have forgotten their actual names. I just call them my senpais and kohais now.
I threw a tennis ball at my cat. I was so caught up in the moment and thought maybe I could capture her, and then we could go on adventures together.
I purchased a motorcycle just so I could pretend I was Onizuka.
I answered the phone with Moshi Moshi.
My poor cat.
I may actually have a problem.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
Hello, I'm Mandy from the Anime Addicts Anonymous. Do any of these symptoms sound familiar to you? Do you have 8,572 waifus? Do you struggle with having the theme song to Attack on Titan stuck in your head, even though Jaeger is the only word you know? Then you may be experiencing anime addiction. If you are experiencing anime addiction, then you should visit our website, aaapodcast.com. At Anime Addicts Anonymous, we have dedicated ourselves to making your anime addiction worse. Worse! Yes, worse. Because the real world just plain sucks. So many resources await you. For just $5 a month, you will have unlimited access to our Hobby Addicts episodes. You will also have access to our hentai episodes, where you can watch a hentai along with us and hear our commentary. Give our after party episodes a listen, where you can hear us struggle to talk about our boring lives outside of anime. That $5 will go to helping us spread anime addiction throughout the world. Yes, it is time for you to make your anime addiction worse.
Hi, this is Tiffany Grant. Remember me? Asuka Langley Soryu? Anyway, I'm a total anime addict, and if you're not listening to Anime Addicts Anonymous, what are you, stupid?
You know me? Of course!
Okay.
And we are back from our break. So, before we went on break, we asked you a little anime related.
I was very animated in how I am.
A very animated question. Anime related question. So sorry. And the question was, in Sakura Quest, Yoshino Koharu is hired to help revitalize a rural farming town. What is that town's name? The answer is Manoyama. And we'll be discussing that here very shortly.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So like Mason and I have mentioned before we started, we went back through a bunch of the shows that were chosen for reviews but never received them. And to give you kind of like a little catch up on that, which ones are still on the list.
So which ones are still in purgatory, awaiting judgment?
Yeah. To give you a little rundown of those, the other ones that were chosen but have not received reviews yet are Altair, A Record of Battles, Eromanga Sensei, Boruto.
Yikes, was that face?
I just laughed, sorry. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Kazuo chose that one, and I don't know if he thought that it was only going to be a very short. I don't know what happened with that. Boruto, Tiger Mask W, K, The Return of Kings, Mobile Suit Gundam, Iron-Blooded Orphans, Chivalry of a Failed Knight, Ranpo Kitan, Game of Laplace, I think that's how you say that.
Yeah.
Ushio and Tora, Dorada X2, Sailor Moon Crystal. And I also put a note here, due to length, Boruto will probably never get a review.
Yeah.
Unless we only stick to the first 24 episodes.
Actually, you can't really get Boruto unless you've seen the original, so we have to actually watch 100 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm like. I have never seen Naruto. Like, I am a very strange weeb where like all of the very popular shonen shows I've never seen. I'm just watching now Gintama now, guys.
To be fair, most people haven't seen Gintama, but
true, yeah.
15. And anyway, so if there's any of those that you're like, oh my goodness, they're missing out. They've got to see it. I guess let us know, and we'll make a special effort to include that one.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's going to be another time where it's just us, and I would love to go back through and give all of these reviews. Maybe not Boruto, because I can't binge through all of Naruto, guys. I'm so sorry. Not that I'm not saying Boruto is bad. We're just implying it's a waste of time. I'm not doing that at all.
I'm implying it. Mandy is far too nice.
I am far too nice. I have never seen Naruto, guys. I'm so sorry. But, yeah, so what we have up today is Juuni Taisen, Sakura Quest, Jojo Part 4, and Welcome to the Ballroom. So why don't we start off with Juuni Taisen?
Yeah, so Juuni Taisen was from fall of 2017, and this was passed by Kazuo back in episode 393, which is, wow, almost 100 episodes ago.
100 years ago?
100 decades ago, at least. This was done by the studio Graphinica, who has not done a lot. They're usually like an assistant studio to other stuff. It was directed by Naota Hosada, and essentially it takes place of... The plot of it is that the 12 like brave warriors, essentially these 12 people who have kind of are represented by the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac, are every 12 years 12 warriors are brought together for like a massive over-the-top death game.
And when they get hugged by the opposite sex,
oh my goodness, instant death.
Yeah, it's extreme fruits basket.
Exactly. So you have these 12 over-the-top eccentric characters, all representing an animal of the calendar of the zodiac, and they engage in this vicious combat until only one remains, and the one who wins gets their one wish fulfilled. It's just kind of those, this is the premise anime, don't think about it, it just works. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what it was about. So it takes place in like this desolate city. There's literally nothing else we know about this world besides this tournament. Nothing about what year it takes place in, the people who used to live in the city, what year it is. Like, it's just very much here's the plot, here's the premise. We all know what the death game is. Go.
Yeah, we've all seen Battle Royale.
Yeah, exactly. And
sorry, before we continue, I forgot to mention how we're going to do this. We are going to give a spoiler-free, not recommendation. We're not, obviously, we can't give these all the hour-long review like we do normally. We have to condense these down. So we are going to give you a spoiler-free just description of it, like when it aired, who chose it, and then I'm going to put up a spoiler warning. So if any of these are shows that you want to watch and don't want to be spoiled on, when that spoiler warning is up, you can mute us, and I'll take it down when we get to the next show. Or
check the timestamps if you're listening.
Right, if you're listening.
Like, we'll have like the pre-spoiler review starts here, then we'll do here's where the spoilers start, and here's where the next show begins. So
I'm gonna give the timestamps to Mitz, so when he makes the final copy, he could put those up on whatever, iTunes, whatever.
Exactly.
You're listening to.
So Juuni Taisen. I guess I can start off. So
are we ready for spoilers?
No, I think do we want to do any like watch or not watch like pre-spoiler review?
Go for it. You can go for it. We can do that.
I'd say if you're a fan of death game stuff, it's interesting in that there's no main character. Like, it's not apparent like who you're supposed to be cheering. It's not like, oh, this guy is the main character, they'll definitely win. Oh, she's the love interest, she'll definitely like survive. Like, it's very much anyone's game. So I like it in that respect. The only thing I'm going to say now, if you're very anti-spoilers, is do not watch the ending song or the ending sequence of this series.
Do not know anything about the Chinese zodiac in general.
Yeah, that helps too. But I'm just spoiling it now that the ending literally reveals the order of the deaths. So don't watch that. Just when the show ends and it starts playing the song, just be like, next episode, please. And you'll remain spoiler-free. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, don't listen to any more of this review and don't watch the ending of the show, and give it a shot because it's a fun time.
I don't know if I recommend it. I mean,
Fair enough.
it
If you
starts
like,
off really strong, but I will say there is a massive quality drop over time.
oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I feel like if you know anything about the Chinese zodiac at all, even a basic knowledge of it, it's already spoiled. So I don't know if I would recommend it. There are some fun fights in there, and there are some characters I really enjoyed. Other than that, I don't know. I'm very iffy on it.
If you like these battle royale death game stuff,
Yeah.
check it out. If not, it's not one of the best examples.
Was this also by Nisio Oisin, the book?
It is. So I guess I was gonna get into that, but so this is based on the light novel by the same guy who did Katanagatari, Monogatari, the Katakuri cycle stuff, the Zarigato series. So I love his stuff.
Yeah.
He has such like a clever way of writing that I just adore.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of is just like a fun throwaway novel. There's a way less of like the wittiness and like cynicism, and like you get elements of it, but it's definitely not if you're a Nisio Isin fan, you should check it out because it's very representative of his works. It's more of, you should check it out if you're just a completionist and see what this guy has done.
I'm very
But it's
curious.
not on the same caliber.
Sorry. I'm very curious what it would have been like if Shaft had got this anime. I wonder if I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
It's possible. So episode 1 of this, and a little bit in episode 2, looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's super hype-inducing, and you're like, this is going to be a blast. Because this show came out in a season that was kind of low-key. It was a lot of like Sangatsu no Lions,
Yes.
Girls Last Tour. Like, it was a very reserved season. And this kind of was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be the big edgelord, violent, fun time. And episode 1 absolutely delivered that. And I was like, yes, I'm all in. This is going to be an absolute blast. And then it goes downhill, and it kind of eats it. And it kind of comes back at the end. But there's definitely some bumpy elements in the middle that are just not very funny, not very goofy, not well animated, that kind of drag it down.
Yeah, so why don't we jump into spoilers? I'm going to put up the spoiler warning now.
Sure.
And so what I did is I wrote down, because I knew we weren't going to be able to give these all an hour-long attention like we normally do. So I wrote down a bunch of pros and cons, things that I like, things I didn't like, and then I guess we'll just throw out a score at the end. So
Yeah, sounds good.
do you want me to start with things that I liked, or did you want to start?
You start with things you liked, and
Okay.
I'll probably bounce off it.
The first thing that I really liked is there were two characters that I really liked. I really liked Tiger, and I really like Rat. And I know that's probably that's incredibly subjective.
You like Tanaka-kun, yes, we get it. Listless sleepy boys are yes, please.
It was
check
more
zone.
so towards the ending that I liked Rat. Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
doesn't show up for most of the series.
He does, yeah, exactly.
But Tiger surprised me because I think when we first meet her, we get the impressions that she's just this drunken, bloodthirsty girl. I think that's kind of the impression that I got. But when it goes into her backstory, I realized there's a little bit more to her. And the reason that she does drink is because to take away that pain of killing. And she's actually not as bloodthirsty as I once thought she was. And I don't know.
I'd say most of the characters, I think, have more of a depth than they are first given.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those shows where, the second you see the backstory, you're like, oh, they're the next one to die.
Yeah.
Oh, sad. And it's like, it's nice because, like, obviously you're introduced to all 12 characters at once. So obviously they can't all be like fully fleshed out. So the show's very much like, here's their very shallow staple. Here's how you recognize them. Very over the top character designs that I actually don't mind. I thought they looked kind of good. But then you're like, oh, as soon as you start getting more interested in know a character, then you're like, well, they're about to die and we're about to learn a new character. And I didn't mind that format.
The reason why I also liked Rat was I just thought his power was very interesting. And it's not like until the very last episode. That's kind of sad that it wasn't like until the very last episode. It's like, oh, he was kind of interesting. I kind of wish I got to see more of him throughout the entire thing. But I liked seeing him go through all the different timelines and experimenting with possible wishes at the end and recalling of like what other characters were wishing for. Because I didn't even know he was talking to any of them. throughout the entire
Yeah.
show. But at the end, he's like, no, through all of these different timelines, I sat down and talked to all of them about their wishes. And his final conclusion is that that he doesn't wish for anything. And he ends up just wanting them to wipe his mind of the entire war, and that's his wish. And I definitely see how that would be extremely anticlimactic for some people who are like, what the hell? We
Yeah.
went through all of this for that? But
For nothing, but I don't know.
I think for
I didn't
me,
mind
I thought
it.
it was interesting because it brings in a bit of that Buddhist philosophy that I think a lot of the characters are trying to play off of, which is like, in order to live a peaceful life, you have to be free from desires. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting though.
Yeah, I mean, all the characters have like a quirk. I would say it's most similar to like My Hero Academia, where each person has like a
Power.
specialty in the way that they maneuver or act or can influence other people. And it's just a fun little fluff. And a lot of this show is just fluff between the first episode and the last episode. It never really makes you like think about the world or like question things, or just, it's a fun nothing show.
And also I wrote down the opening scene with Boar was phenomenal. It's so
The opening is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The animation is great, just seeing her as like a mercenary. It's so above average, and it got me excited for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, it definitely, the
saw
show
how that tanked.
very much fails to live up to the expectations it set.
Yes. Yeah.
Both from having the source material from a established like novelist, from the animation that it failed to live up to ever again after the first episode. It was just like, yeah, it's fine, but it's not as good as what I was told it was going to be. So
were there any other pros that you want to touch on before I move on?
I don't know. I think we kind of touched on them. Everything good about this show is in episode 1. Watch that and be like, and just use your imagination for the rest, and you'll probably be better off.
Yeah, the main complaint that I have seen people have for this, and it makes sense. Oh, sorry, I think I might accidentally minimized. Anyways, sorry. If our cameras froze, it's because I messed up. But as I was saying, the main complaint that I've always seen online is that the series is very predictable, and it is, because if you know anything about the Chinese zodiac, the order of them, that's the order they chose to have them die in, and it's so disappointing because it's like, the excitement you get from a battle royale story is never knowing if your favorite character is going to die, or if they're going to get, that anxiety that builds up. And if you take that away, what's left of like a killing game? I don't know, it killed the enjoyment for me.
Because it did such a good job of like, really, it was anyone's game. Mm-hmm. Like, really, you either knew them well enough and you're like, oh, they're strong, they've got a chance, or you didn't know a character and it's like, oh, they're a wild card. I don't know what they have going on. So it's like any one of these 12 characters could easily have won. And they did such a good job of like playing it even, being very unbiased in how it represented characters. So I'm like, oh, who could it be? And then it's like the show just screams at you. Actually, it's objectively going to be in this order.
Yeah.
So
it even has them in the ED. It's like,
exactly, yeah.
If you just so happen to not know anything about the Chinese zodiac, and then you're like, oh well, the ED is going to tell you anyways.
Ignorance is bliss on this one. So I didn't let that like hamper my enjoyment, but it definitely just did. Like it I couldn't avoid it.
Yeah, also they spent so much time on Snake and Dragon, 2 characters I thought were so boring.
They had the worst episodes.
They were like a 3-episode backstory for them. I'm like, God, I'm so tired of these 2. Can we move on?
Why did you pick these 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of
all the other characters that seemed interesting, like they barely gave anything to Dog. I can't remember his actual character name, just the dog. And it wasn't until like the very end with Rat, where he's going through all of his like encounters with all of them, that we realized that he like has like, wasn't like he had a family. Sorry, it's been a little bit since I've seen the beginning of the series. I don't know if they touched on that early.
It's been like 2 years since we've seen it.
Yeah, but he's been like he's fighting for like his family, and I was like, man, that guy, it would have been great to see more on him. Why did we spend 3 episodes on Dragon and Snake?
Dragon, Snake, yeah.
Man, and they are terrible characters.
Yeah, pretty much.
I hated them because neither one of them are likable or interesting enough. Like, it's fine if you have like horrible characters as long as they're interesting. going into JoJo later on.
Cough, cough, cough,
Cough,
Hisoka.
cough.
Cough, cough.
Man, I love hands. But like, I wasn't intrigued by either of them because I thought, man, it would have been interesting. Like, they have so much here that could be interesting. That they had twin brothers, who are entering a killing game. There's a lot of drama that can go with that, but it's like both of them are like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't care. And like, they didn't even have good
Well,
powers.
if you don't care, I don't care.
They just had like the thing strapped to their back, and it was like,
Yeah.
what's now?
Yeah.
So
Also, Rabbit's death is so disappointing. I hated that scene.
okay.
So
I don't remember that one actually.
Big buff
I think
rabbit
it was-
dude,
Yeah,
which has the best cosplays in
The best
every con.
cosplays.
I love all
Of
the
course.
cosplays of him. Big buff rabbit dude. He, he's like a beast by nature. He kills people and turns them into zombies because he's a necromancer. And he says, "Oh, this is how I'm making friends." And he's like the big bad of the entire series. Like, there's no reasoning with him, like with a lot of the other characters.
he's not in it for a wish or to progress anything. He just wants, oh, this is an excuse to kill 11 other people.
Yes.
Sign me up.
And make them my friends.
Yes.
But but when it does finally get down to the moment where he is fighting with Ox and Tiger, they instantly just take him out. I was like, man, why couldn't we get rid of some of the dragon and snake story and have prolong that fight to make it more interesting? It's like, oh, we have to work together to take down this guy. Fripp, his head's gone. Well, that was it. And he does
Nice
come
job.
back as a zombie, but then Rat shows up and just blows him up with a bomb.
Yeah.
So it's climatic. I don't know. It was silly for me.
No, I get you. I
don't know. I know we have to kind of move these along, but was there anything
Yeah, we
else
can
you
probably
wanna
just
talk about?
score it. I think this is a shallow enough show that we've kind of expressed our general consensus on it.
Yeah.
If we had to score it, I'd probably give it more than I normally would, just because the season that it came out with was pretty lacking.
True. Mm-hmm.
Like, not in terms of quality, but just in sort of like this over-the-top edgelord fun death game thing, and I kind of liked it for that respect. So I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. I thought that it had a lot of potential that it didn't live up to, but at the end of the day, I still I stuck with it, and it was manageable enough.
Yeah, I think I was going to do the exact same. I had 2.5 down in my notes. I was like, it's like, I didn't think it was awful. It definitely wasn't. There was enough there that was like, this is entertaining, but it didn't have enough for me to go, this is really good or special. I was like, it's okay.
Check it out if you just love death games.
Yes.
But besides that, skip it.
Alrighty, then I am going to take off the spoiler warning and let's move into Sakura Quest. So let me bring up my notes. Sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place because I'm controlling everything today. So there's a little delay between everything. But Sakura Quest. This one came out in spring of 2017. It was originally passed by Kimiko. And the studio that adapted this was PA Works. Actually, I think it might have been original. I don't think it was a manga, was it?
No, it's original.
Original, okay. It was by PA Works, and the director was Soichi Masui. And so Sakura Quest is about this woman named Yoshino Koharu who is having tons of difficulty trying to find a job. And she's living in Tokyo, and every job that she tries to apply for comes back as a failure. And finally, she does get a job offer in this little rural town called Manoyama. And she is sent there to become what is known, it's kind of like a tourist attraction, basically, known as the Queen of Chupacabra, which is they're basically a tourist attraction to try and bring people into the town and get some business from outside of the little rural town. And so she goes there with the intention thinking, oh, I'm just going to do a video or something. And then it turns out her contract was for a year. And she's taken aback, whoa, what am I going to do here for a year?
I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for this. And so they do end up persuading her to stay, and she meets a lot of friends along the way, and she is working to try to revitalize this little rural town and bring more business in, and it's so charming. I love this
It
series
is
so much.
so charming. Oh my goodness.
And I just
I'm so
recently
glad.
watched this like a month ago, I think. But
Yeah, I think so.
it was after you did your waifu segment.
So it would have been at the beginning of this month, I think.
Okay, so yeah, almost.
I think
a month.
the first entry in November was one of the friends she meets from this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because all the characters. I don't want to say that. All the characters in the show in that core group of 5 are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're so mature. They're like very realistic.
Yes.
I mean, this is the same studio, same kind of creative forces that the Shirobako and Hanasaki Iraha, just kind of like behind the scenes of a bunch of people working towards a goal, everything that goes wrong, everything that goes right, and oh my goodness, it's just so quaint and pleasant. Like none of the problems are that bad, none of the issues are that like horrific, but it's just enough like real life drama that
it's a very comfortable slice of life.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
comfortable is a great word for it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
there's also like it does highlight some actual real problems too. There are rural areas in Japan that are kind of decaying and dying off, and Manoyama actually exists. And there are like, this isn't like uncommon for anime, of course. There are a lot of shows where you can you can see like take pictures of the actual area and then see how the anime used actual pictures of that area as reference to.
Well, I think Manoyama was like a conglomeration of like 3 or 4 like different small towns
Okay.
that they've kind of like stitched together to form like the fabric of the place that these people are trying to save. And
okay.
there's a bunch of little shops that they go to and have, and there's just like such a life to the characters around them. And it's an easy watch,
very easy, and
it's yeah, people will say it's slow, there's no whatever. Clearly the show is not for you. If you like the slice of life, if you like that behind the scenes working type show, absolutely I recommend,
especially if you like a working show. Yeah. And the dub is fantastic. Because this was on Funimation, and I think what happened, I could be wrong about this, but I think what happened is that it was originally on Crunchyroll when Funimation and Crunchyroll had their merge, and so the Crunchyroll did have the Japanese audio, and then when they split apart, it's now just on Funimation and it's only the dub. That's all they have. So I did stream it on Funimation, watched the English dub, and it's actually really good. Like there were never any cringy moments where I was like, ew, that character sounds kind of weird.
That didn't come off well.
They were all super believable and I loved it.
And part of that is also just the writing in this is way more believable. Mm-hmm. It's not trying to make any big grand gestures. Like all the like moments where they try to give an impassioned speech that like would work in an anime but would not work in real life, like comes off as kind of like awkward, and they're like, oh, you're such a goof. Like it comes off the way it would in real life. It doesn't feel fabricated or fantasy, and it's just adorable, and it just gives you the warm fuzzies.
Yeah. So ready to jump into the spoilers?
Spoilers, whatever we can spoil, we're gonna try our best to.
Yeah, there's not really much here to spoil. But, so yeah, where do you want to start? I put down some pros. I didn't have many cons, honestly. But my first was that the characters are so lovely and charming. We already talked about that pretty much. The cast is so fantastic, and each of them have a very well developed background, and they all have issues that they need to resolve and are very easily relatable in some way, and they're all struggling with like their own careers and working together to support one another. It's just so heartwarming. From like Sanae, who's trying to find IT work in this tiny little rural town. And I love that they like form a type of network of like a TV program so that all of like the old people in the town are able to participate and create their own channel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My favorite moment.
There's like a YouTube like conglomeration.
Yes, my favorite moment of the entire series. Okay. One of my favorite moments. Maybe it's not my favorite.
There's so many.
I got excited about it though.
There's so many great moments.
Is when these two, because at first all of the older people in the town are not really familiar with all of this new fancy IT tech and
newfangled phones.
Yeah,
what is
all these
touch screens?
Yeah, they do go through and show them all how to use tablets, which is really cute. But my favorite is when these two old people get into a fight online. They're their first online fight, and they're not like...
Flame war people.
It's so funny because they're not even like trying to be anonymous about it. They're like, I'm going to come down to your store and I'm going to beat you up. It was so funny to me. I love that scene. But yeah, and then we have like Ririko, who is trying to overcome her social anxiety, and she's wanting to participate in this play where she's singing like this very like this song that was made for the town.
It's like a very it's not
tradition.
traditional, but it's like a very like specific to that village, and it's like very ingrained in the culture of growing up there and like what it means to be associated with this place.
Yeah, and then we have like Maki, who's trying to get back into her acting career, and of course like our main character Yoshino, who is just trying to find a decent job and making so many friends here.
I mean, that's very much like the struggle of like people coming out of college. They're just, where do I find job? How do I find job? Can I job please?
Can I job please?
Can I job please? Where do I job?
Yeah, it's a great show for college students, I think.
Yeah, because she's grinding away, and it's not like things don't always go through, and you will get chances that are maybe not your dream job, but sometimes you just gotta take them and take that starting step. And I think that's kind of important. But I mean, the focus of like the decay of the Japanese small town, just like it really brought to light like, oh, these places are just being deserted and desolated, and it's just, there's just not people who are interested in going out there, and it's cool. I don't know. I feel more informed, more culturally about an event in Japan than most other shows ever do.
I also like the main theme of the show, where it's like life can take you in many different directions, and you might not end up with the dream job that you originally intended to find, but it is like it's good to give new things a shot, and because you might end up falling in love with a different kind of career that you didn't originally intend for, or meeting new people that you can call family one day. It's a really heartwarming series, and there's a great mix of comedy and drama, and Sandal is the best character. His match 3 skills are unbeatable.
Best matchmaker in town.
Yes, best matchmaker ever.
Oh, that whole like dating episode where they like try to like pair people. Oh, that was cute. Oh my goodness, so
it's
adorable.
So funny because Sandal is like this weird like foreign guy who just walks around with different kind of musical instruments, and just he's so airheaded.
Yeah.
He just like is always in like his own little fantasy dream world, and everyone's like, that guy's weird, but he's kind of hot. And,
yeah. If you're hot enough, you can get away with just about.
Oh no, don't tell them that. But
don't tell the people that.
I love this scene, like we were talking about with the dating, where he shows up on the like dating.
He shows up on the next bus.
On the bus, yeah, the dating bus, and they're was it Shinomiya? Who was it? Was it Yoshino? I think it was Yoshino. Who's like, do you know what this is? Like, this is a matchmaking service. He's like, yeah, match 3 master right here. I was dying.
He just ends up, and I don't know. It's like kind of shallow comic relief, but it's a fun time.
He was like, you know what I'm best at? Killing the blue pieces. Instantly favorite character.
You relate.
But yeah, and like it might not have, it's a slice of life, so it's not gonna have very flashy animation, but the scenery is gorgeous, and it creates this really great comfy atmosphere. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, most of the scenes are drawn from real life locations, so it's kind of cool to like compare the two as well.
No, agreed.
Cons.
I
don't really have many.
My two big cons were, honestly, like, I like that they pulled a bunch of references from real life towns to like make this town a thing. But overall, I felt like I didn't get a good sense of the town itself.
True, yeah.
Like, I didn't have a
robot vending machine. What else do you need?
Like, the train station was good. Like, I'm like, oh, train station is set up. This is, what gate you exit, all that stuff. But for being a show about selling people in the show about, oh, come visit the town, come stay at the town, come live at the town, as a viewer, I didn't get a good sense of the town. Like, where is the tailor shop relative to the restaurant I eat at? what time do people kind of like wake up? What time does it go to bed? Like what does it feel like to live in this town? I really didn't get that. I got characters trying to bring people to the town, but I was like, I don't want to go there. I don't know anything about the town. Like the show kind of failed to tell me why I should come live in the town. Obviously, I'm not the demographic, but there's just like a certain sense of like, where is this place? I didn't.
Excuse me.
So that was one thing I just really didn't get behind, because I love kind of mapping out places in my mind and getting a feel for that. And it just, I want to go there and walk around and figure out, oh, this is how it's laid out. And that was the big thing I disliked. Also, the boss guy, Ushimatsu, I think his name was, like the older gentleman.
I loved him.
He's goofy
man.
and fun, and I love how he clashes with the other, like the Obaba.
The leader of the like the Merchants Guild.
Yeah, the Merchants Guild. Oh my goodness, which is a name that doesn't feel like it belongs.
Sounds like a fantasy.
Like, exactly. But like he was a bit much at times.
Oh,
like
man,
a little too.
I love those grumpy old man characters.
Yeah, I get that, but it just kind of was like just not quite my rhythm, not quite my beat. So those were probably the two things that I was like, if they had gotten that, I would have really like recommended it to anyone. But this one, like without that, I'm just like, definitely check it out if you like slice of life, but it's not like the best one. So what did you have? What were your little nagging things?
I was struggling because, like, obviously there is the obvious, like, if you don't like slice of life, there you go. Like, there's no reason to watch it because it's a very comfy, slow slice of life.
Yeah, this is definitely a show better watched like week to week.
Yes.
Or in like segments. Like trying to marathon this would be not as enjoyable.
It was fine for
mind.
me, but I like slice of life, so.
Fair enough.
For me, I think the only con that I could really write down was the ending resolution of how they did save the town at the end, because it felt a bit easy. I don't know. It was because they discovered that Sando's relatives once lived in this town, and they're foreigners, and so they contact another relative of his that's currently staying in Japan, and they tell him to come to Maruyama and try to get him interested in creating like a sister town with wherever he's from. And I understand that the show is like all about the journey, and the connection that you make, but it still felt kind of weird. Like it felt like all their hard work was pointless at the end.
There was that. There was also like that like big concert that kind of just like fell in their lap, and they're like, "Hey, this will work," and they kind of didn't. But it just felt like nothing the characters did
were meaningful.
Produced that. Yeah. Nothing yielded results. It kind of was like, not every job's gonna be your dream job. Just get out there, try your best, and you'll succeed. And it's like, get out there, try your best, and things will happen, and you'll go home, and you'll wake up the next day. Like it just felt like, I don't know. And maybe that incompetence is part of them just being new. Like this is not the job they were signed up for. Yeah. But it did feel a little like they didn't really have big victories.
Yeah.
But
it's still a great show.
Perhaps it grinds it in realism, but I don't know.
True, yeah. Not everything works out wonderfully in real life. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it, really. I love it. I think it's a great little show. You ready to score?
I'm ready to score.
Go for it.
I don't know. So I was like, well, what do I score the show? So I just went to my anime list and what did I score it last time? And I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And I feel like a major part of that was simply that I was coming off of Shirobako, and I was like, oh, this is going to be the next thing, and it's going to be just as good, and I'm ready for more of that PA Works goodness. And it just wasn't quite with the emotional highs. It wasn't quite there with the soundtrack. Like, it was all fine. It was all good. It was all what I was there for, but it just didn't have that special something that was like, yeah, this is maximum my enjoyment for this kind of thing. So I think I was just a little let down by that, and that's where that 3.5 out of 5 comes from. So glad I watched it, can't even talk. But it was enjoyable, and definitely if you're a fan of the genre, please check it out.
I think for me, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. I loved it. I thought it was great. So charming. Yeah, the ending was a little bit disappointing for me just because I was like, it didn't feel like anything they did mattered. But I did enjoy the journey and I loved all of the characters. I thought they were fantastic. And the great dub. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Ready to move on?
Yeah. Oh, I'm very ready to talk about.
Go for it.
Next two. I'm very.
This one's
excited.
going to be very fast. I feel like we've already talked about it enough.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Guys, Jojo, Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. This is obviously done by David Production. They've done all of the Jojo series. This came out in spring of 2016, so this is over 3 years old. This was passed by MITS back in episode 322. Wild. Anyway, I don't. Do I even need to do the synopsis of this? It's
No,
Part
you
4 of
don't.
Jojo. It's Jojo is a long-running series. It's about a royal bloodline family, whatever. Is this family to have powers, and then the next generation of that family sometimes has powers, and they get in all these wacky, maybe you might even call them bizarre adventures, and things happen, and it's really evolved over the years. And Part 4 is considered like the first part where it really found its mark of what it has now become today. And a lot of people say, oh, you have to watch from the beginning. A lot of people say, you can kind of skip and jump ahead. There's no right answer. Obviously, you should watch from the beginning objectively, but Part 4 is a great jumping on point if you've never seen JoJo and want to get in while it's good and see what it's all about. Our main protagonist is Jotaro, which is where part of the Jo comes from. It takes place in these very also slice of life adventures as him and his friends bop around the town, and things go pretty well.
I think you meant Josuke. You said Jotaro.
Yeah, Josuke. Sorry.
You're fine.
No, too many JoJos.
There's
yeah,
so
anyway,
many JoJos.
So they bop around, they get into goofs and gaffs until some dude who's really got a thing for hands comes and starts ruining things, and then the real series begins. So,
really hands-on type person.
He's a real, touchy personality. Yeah. So essentially, the whole appeal of the show for me is that everyone in this series who is, a character, quote unquote, has unbelievably goofy, specific, and odd powers. And the whole conceit of the show is that this guy with a very strange power has a disagreement with this guy who has a power that is also completely just unthinkable. And it's just, how do these powers mesh and work together to make these fights that are simultaneously like epic and just by the seat of your pants? And you can't put too much logic in them. You're just like,
nope.
Well, this guy fights with the ability to control sound effects, and this guy fights with the ability to.
This guy is a self-insert.
Make you way heavy or something, and it's just like, how does that fight work out? It's like a weird thought experiment that just is it's a goofy time.
Yeah, this character is a self-insert for Araki.
Yeah,
I love to imagine that he thinks that he is Rohan.
He definitely does, but
let's go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Let's do it.
There's no I don't know. There's no concise way to talk about JoJo.
I feel like we've talked about it so much when especially during our JoJo episode.
Yeah.
I was very vocal about this.
30
Out of everything that has aired out of JoJo, this is my favorite season so far.
So
I love
Part 4 is considered one of the best parts, especially because, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of the first 3 parts. They're kind of playing around with the idea of how they go through a few iterations, but it's kind of always off. In Part 4, it really kind of finds the system that it will continue to go forward with. And it's kind of odd because it is slice of life. It's very almost Monster Week for the first 20 or so episodes. And it is almost slow in that regard, where you're like, these people are just living their life every day in this town. It's not a big, grand adventure like Part 3 was, where they're walking across Egypt, and you're like, we know where the destination is, and it's just a matter of time until we get there. It's still Monster of the Week, but it feels like we're progressing, we're moving, we're advancing. This one is just waiting around before the inevitable bad stuff happens. So in that regard, I think some people might not dig it, but the whole appeal is that it's just nonstop. You watch the show and then you think about it for like hours afterwards, and you're like, what if I had stand powers, or if I had that power, what would I do? Or it makes you think about useless stuff more than any other show. That it's just so enjoyable.
What if I lived in a world with Rohan?
How would I make moves on that?
How would I make moves on that mangaka? How would I get some of that? What was it? Mountain money? Fucking buys mountain.
The mountain money. The Miyama bucks.
Oh my god. Bro,
but like
stop.
the show like looks fantastic. It's the animation, to be honest, is not great. Like the way the characters
I actually love
move
the art style.
I love the art style.
Okay.
The art style is amazing. The clouds alone
Yes.
are some of the best things I've ever seen. They just have this wispiness while also being like sharp and defined, with like these really odd color palette swaps that just give me life.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters look very crisp and clear, and they really pop.
Yes.
But they don't really move well. They're very stuck in place and stiff as they move. So if you're looking for like a fight show of actual like animation progress, this is not the one for you. But the way they make up for it with the best sound effects ever. There's a guy, Okuyasu, whose like ability like wipes out a void of space and time. And there's just this I can't even describe it. I'm not going to even try to imitate it.
Go ahead, try to imitate it right now.
I'm going to blow out the mic. That was terrible, but I love it anyway. It just like wipes out.
Was that the hand?
That hand in the flesh. It just like wipes out time.
Where's Kira? Kira's looking for hand.
You feel just this section of just time just erode and it just, oh my goodness, it has such a crunch and like bass to it that it's a joy
when
to
someone
listen.
Gets punched, oh my god. That whole scene where Rohan was getting beaten into oblivion.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
All those sound effects are painful.
The voice acting is amazing.
Yes.
The music is fantastic. The openings and endings, I'll watch them because they like change and warp with what's going on, and they add little
Savage
touches
Garden.
and flares. And Savage Garden at the ED. There's just like so many production values that help like elevate it from the lackluster animation and the perhaps like slow thing to just give you like these mountains of dread, and you just feel like, ooh, you just feel in the show. And honestly, like this is not my favorite part, and it's kind of slow, but no show am I so excited to go in every week. Like even when I knew like, oh, this episode's not going to be like, I'm not a big fan of this encounter because I've read the manga before. When the episode starts, I'm always 100% in. I'm always engaged when JoJo is on. And there's just few shows pull me into their world as much as this. And even though there's a lot of things wrong with it, and a lot of times things don't make sense, and you're just kind of like,
that's JoJo in a nutshell.
This is JoJo. Like, just don't think about it. Just let it happen. Like, because Araki just sometimes writes himself into corners.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because when the show works, especially with the last like 6 or 7 episodes, which is the final fight, it just works so damn well that it reaches highs that no other show can reach. And like, you gotta deal with some JoJo logic every now and then, so that you can get the JoJo glory.
Yeah, I actually liked a lot of the slice of life moments in it. I also love.
Where else are you gonna get a series that's I'm gonna fix that spaghetti? Nowhere. I love out of context JoJo memes. I see them all the time.
Yeah. Josuke is also one of my favorite JoJos. He's I think out of all of from part 5 to part 1 of what has been animated, like I don't know much about the manga beyond that because I haven't.
Listen, until you've met a dinosaur riding a horse carrying the American flag, like in part 7,
I'm there.
You're only at the tip of the JoJo.
I'm so there. But out of all of the JoJos that have been introduced so far, Josuke to me is the one who acts the most like his age. He's such a dumb teenage boy, And I
He is,
actually
yeah.
loved that. Like the part where they meet the guy who has Harvester, the stand Harvester, where he can make just billions of his like copies of his stand to go out and steal shit. And the first thing Josuke comes to is like, oh, I can get money to buy shoes.
Yeah.
I love Josuke. He's so, I don't know, he's just a dumb typical teenage boy.
He's such a good boy while
Yeah.
also simultaneously like forging checks to make a bunch of money.
Yeah, and trying to find lottery tickets and
Yeah.
fake dice to piss off Rohan and burning his house down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
Poor
know.
Rohan.
It's clearly we love JoJo. We're not going to go on about it too long, but I would say this is a good starting point. I would say episodes 1 and 2, I think it's a two-parter, and they're great. And they actually use a bunch of cool editing techniques, like when Jotaro like enters a car and like walks out, it like swaps to him like being in a room. Like there's so many cool things that they don't keep up later on, and it was kind of disappointing. But just watch episodes 1 and 2. Yeah, you get a little animal violence. It goes away. It's good. It's good.
I
Watch
love the villain Kira.
JoJo.
He's so different.
Yeah, the main antagonist in this part is easily one of the best, and the confrontation with him and just his philosophy, and the love that his parents have for him are all very touching and great, and it's, I would say, I don't know if I'd say it's better than part 5.
Oh, it was for me. I like this one a lot more.
The ending of 4 definitely is far better.
Yeah, for sure.
The fights maybe aren't quite as clever, but overall the mood and aesthetics of this, I think, are better.
I always thought Rohan Stan was the most interesting out of all of them, because he's literally could be unbeatable. He could write into anybody. Don't attack Rohan. The end. Bye. I love Rohan. Look, best part. Any part with Rohan is the best part.
Best part. Well, that's why he gets all the side story.
Yes.
So
Score?
I don't know. I think we can score it. I mean, I like wax profusely about it, and I love JoJo. Honestly, there's a lot of flaws with it that I just choose to ignore, and I love it for. I'm gonna give it a strong 3.5. I think a lot of it's too slow.
I
know
think
it's
this is
another
just a
3.5.
5 out of 5 for you. You might as well just say 5 out of 5.
No, I know. That's what everyone says. Oh, the Mason. It's not for you guys. I rated the show in 2016 on my anime, back when I watched it, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. That's what I thought. I thought it was good, but not that next level.
This is my favorite part, so I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5. I love it.
Yeah.
There's Rohan. Rohan's the best. 4.5 Rohan.
Watch
Rohan manga.
Watch
exercises
JoJo.
Out of 5.
And we get old man Joseph.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Welcome to the Ballroom. And this one came out in summer of 2017. It was originally passed by Kimiko. And the impression of that is in episode 381. I forgot, we put down the episode impressions on these. So I think maybe Icy did.
I did.
Oh, you did. Oh, thank you.
This is literally in this like 12-page document. That's the only thing I'd contributed, was putting in 3 numbers at the end of everything. Yeah, everything else, that's on you.
So yeah, this was a manga adaptation by Studio Production IG and directed by Yoshimi Itazu. And this one is about competitive ballroom dancing, and it follows the character Tatara Fujita, who is a middle school kid, and he is very shy, and he was at the very beginning of the series having trouble with bullying, and one day he is saved by this big man named Sengoku.
Big man.
Big man. I love Sengoku. But yeah, and he drags him into a studio, and there he starts to experience ballroom dancing, and this girl that he kind of has a crush on is there as one of their students, and so he becomes interested in this sport and starts to participate in it, and throughout the rest of the series, it's all about his journey into this new passion, this new interest that he has. And we get to go through some competitions as well. So that's the basic gist of it. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So obviously same group, same creative mindset that did Haikyuu.
Run with the Wind.
Later on, they would go to do Run with the Wind.
Mm.
And so they clearly know what they're doing. It's the same soundtrack guy, Hayuki, you know what I'm talking about. He's got a very distinctive sound. So it's like very much the same thing. And I went into it and I saw like the promotional posters. And I'm like, dance, pass. Look at those old giraffe neck boys. That looks goofy. This looks goofy. This is dumb. I'm going to skip this one. And then I watched it. Oh my goodness, this was so good. Also, Ferret Cam live. Ferret's going. He's hiding. He's going.
I don't know where he's going. He's hopping around.
Reject that plan. Anyway, guys, no, this was. So I watched this show this week because this was the one I hadn't seen before this. And I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I actually watched like the last 7 episodes with my whole family last night.
Oh,
just
that's
like
awesome.
It was just we were just like I'm home for the holidays. I'm here to be social. I'm like, guys, I can't. I gotta watch anime for my podcast, and they're like,
we'll
watch with you
together. That's so
yeah.
sweet.
So my family is so. What I'm thankful for is my family being super supportive and just watching the last 7 episodes of ballroom dancing anime that they've seen nothing about. We watched it till like 1 a.m. so I could finish it in time. We were waltzing around the room. We were having a blast. This was we had so much fun. Even though the last 7 episodes were kind of the worst part.
Yeah.
The visuals in the show, they looked so good. They were, they have a little bit of long necks. It happens sometimes, but it was just good. I just liked it way more than I was expecting. I don't know what to say more besides going into spoilers.
What were your expectations going in? Like, were you expecting it to be really bad, or were you expecting it to just be mediocre, or?
I don't
that
know.
Might
I guess
give some insight into how you feel like overall.
Like, because when this show came out before Run with the Wind.
Yes.
So like, once I saw Run with the Wind and really liked that, then I was like, oh, let's give this one a shot. It's and I mean, I pretty quickly fell in love with it. Like, there wasn't like you have to give it 3 or 4 episodes, but like, it definitely progressed from a show this is about dance. It teaches you about dance, how it works, the intricacies, the moments about it, how to have good posture. Reminder, have good posture. To like very much a metaphor for relationships and people communicating with each other and this whole thing. And just, it changed flow halfway through. And I think it still kept up the momentum of being an interesting and engaging story. And I guess I didn't have too many expectations going into it other than they dance. How about yourself? I wasn't like I wasn't like reading online discussion or anything like that. Like, I was pretty muted and unspoiled to all that.
Yeah, so I also watched it this past week, and because I had never seen it, I watched the first 2 episodes, and then I think when it first aired, I think I put it on hold because I was like, there are so many things I want to watch right now. I'm just gonna put this on hold and wait. And then suddenly everyone started telling me all this. They didn't like this anime, like a bunch of people that we talked to in our community. We're like, no, I hated this. It's awful. Yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll fail it, or maybe I'll drop it. And then when we did this review, I was like, okay, I'll jump back into it. So I did watch it this whole past week.
I mean, I guess all I was told about it was I watched episode 1 when we decided to do it. And I'm like, hey, episode 1 was pretty good. I'm digging it. And Enzo's like, well, I want to see what happens like by the end. I thought it was still good. I definitely think it went through a drop. I think episodes 17 through like 21 were like not great. The animation plummeted very bad. Like they have these like big dance competition scenes, and it was nothing but stills. Like
face
like an
reactions.
overhead view, or like an overhead view of like 12 couples dancing, but they were just locked in still, not even moving. Crowd shots, lingering, not moving. Like they definitely were like, yikes, budget time. I don't know what it was, but it definitely was a patch of rough spot. But once they got out of that, and everything before it, I thought was very consistent and solid.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump on in. So I'm going to put up the spoiler warning. And my very first...
Welcome to the spoiler room.
Yeah. My very first thing that I put down, which was the very first thought that I had, was I love Chinatsu so much. She's so great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to bring up my notes because I realized I accidentally skipped to Sarazanmai. Anyways,
gotcha.
Chinatsu was my absolute favorite character, and I think if this series ever came back and there was more to it, she would probably end up being one of my favorite female characters of all time. I was very disappointed she came in so late, but man.
Well, it was like just past the halfway point, right?
Yeah,
but she didn't really get introduced as a character into like a main character until like 14 or so.
Yeah, she's absolutely my favorite because she's so strong-willed and determined to lead, because we learned that she used to do ballroom dancing as a child, and at that time, and when you're a child, it would be your dance partner was two women, and then when you grow older, they're like, no, you have to have a male lead and a female partner, and
for like proper competitions.
Yeah. And she was so determined to lead. She's not gonna let any man control her.
No man gonna contain all this.
I loved her. And she wasn't afraid to call out how sexist the rules are regarding like how women are scored. She's like, it's kind of ridiculous that all the scoring is based on the man and how well he leads and for competitions. She's like, that is nonsense. And so I love that she was in this to kind of call that stuff out. And
well, there was like, sorry to springboard, there's like moments where like other females would make comments like, the ability of a female is really how much she can express within a man's hold.
Yeah.
And she's like, yes, I get that, but how about no?
How about no, though? That is stupid.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, like, it wasn't even like heavy-handed with it. Like, it was upfront and obvious with it. Like, clearly this is going above and beyond, like, oh, she's clearly this way more than just dance. This is a personal statement, but it wasn't like leaning into it so much where I was like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Yes, they're marginalized. Yes, they under a different. Yes, they don't even get a number on their back because they don't even get the number. Like, we get that. They was just like, oh, I see what the point they're trying to make. They made it very clear, and I get it. We're moving with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, the only thing I didn't like about her was like, you got to know what you want to do. Like, you can't expect like if you want to dance. Don't just going back and forth about it. But no, she was great. She was a blast. And one of where my family started watching with me, and it's like I had to tell them, oh, she's a character, but she's only kind of just been introduced. The first 12 episodes of this series, this major character you're seeing now wasn't even a factor.
Part of it, yeah.
And I like that they didn't go with the typical love at first sight and like do a whole like convoluted. It was just good. It just felt so real, and it was.
I don't know. She's very relatable to me because she is a very stubborn character, but she has a side to her where she instantly regrets when she's being overly harsh. Like, she yells at somebody, and she goes and she's just in bed curled up. She's like, "Why did I say that?
Why did I do that?"
I've been there so many times because she's like a cannonball. When she gets mad, she's gonna let you know she's mad, and then afterwards she's like, "God, why am I like this?" I liked her.
Her mom was great too.
Yes.
Her mom was like, she was like super like reserved, and stuff happened, and she'd like bust out of her seat. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, you can get where that came from, and Like the whole backstories that were given, like it all made sense. It all attributed. It all added to this point. It was just like, yes, I'm seeing how things connect. The writing was good. The characters weren't over the top. They were in high school, yes, but it was way more mature than. It was very on par with the kind of character development we saw in Sakura Quest or college age of Run with the Wind.
I also like a lot of the scenes from her past where she is struggling because a lot of the people around her are telling her what it means to be feminine. They're like, no, you have to do this. You have to wear dresses. And she's like, I don't want to do that.
When she was bawling her eyes out, she had to wear the dress. I was like,
God, I feel you. I hate dresses too. I love you so much. I loved her. She's my favorite.
But I thought all the
characters are strong. They were what kept me coming back.
Male and female cast, I thought were both just diverse, intelligent. They all had things to say. There was no character that was like aggravating to be on screen. Aki was a little bit much, but like they kind of made her goofy. It was good. I'm gonna say the good a lot. I don't have many more things to say.
I also loved Sengoku and his partner Chizuru. I think that's her name. Chizuru.
You mean? Are you talking about the older couple?
Yes. The instructor and his partner. Man, Chizuru.
Well, they were very similar. We're butting heads. Yes, always made for better relationships.
She is not afraid to beat the shit out of him. And he screws up or trying to do too much to show off. She's like, we ain't having that. I love it. But I also like the story of Tatara as well. Because if you think about it, a lot of times when people get really into competitive sports, they start out very young, like in your childhood. And so he's coming into this actually, like, even though he's like high school, middle school-ish age, I can't remember.
It transitions. I think the first half is the last year of middle school. And then the second half is the first year of high school.
But he's still coming into this pretty late for somebody. And I don't know. I just like that story of somebody coming into a new hobby and passion and working so hard at it with people who have been doing this their whole life. Like, I mean,
hard work is always just such a great message. But I think part of that is he has a very relatable to some people, so they can just he's not sure what he wants to do. He's just kind of like he's an average student. He's just going by, but he doesn't have like that drive. He doesn't have that thing to push him, and he's just like, where do I go? What's my future going to be? And he's like, and he finds a thing, and it was great. It was great to see that.
I also love how he found confidence with dance. Because before he was very shy, very kind of... He was always scared to, like, go near the people who were, like, the bullies. And then after a while, he's, like... He gained confidence from, doing
episode 1 was just... It wasn't even dancing. It was just... He goes and he learns how to stand upright. And he sees himself standing upright. And that was just, like... That gave him that first, like, boost. And seeing that was, like... I was just... felt it. I felt like, yes, I see what is going to go on to drive this character in the future.
I also liked Kujimiya, the older man that we meet, who...
with the Rohan haircut?
With the Rohan haircut, and the like massive bags under his eyes. I love that guy. But I also like that he's just this older man who doesn't really enjoy dancing, and he was very happy when he got into an auto accident. He got hit by like a car.
When he smiles before
he's like, I don't have to dance anymore. And then, but the excitement of it keeps drawing him back in. I like that. I liked him a lot too. Is there anything else about pros you want to talk about?
I thought the animation was really good for most of it. They really took some, not risk in like obscure artsy shots, but there's a lot of shots that they just didn't need to do, but they did, and it was kind of odd, but it worked. So, like, there was a scene where the dude's getting massage, and he's like helping like stretch out the muscles like in the blade, and they like show like the muscles and like goop like ripping apart, and it's like, that was kind of odd, but
that was weird.
Okay. And there was like, if you've seen Sangatsu no Lion, they kind of had that same effect on their smiles, their mouth, where they're like overly shaded, like they were drawn with crayon instead of like they're too thick. And I thought that was like something I haven't seen in any production.
Hmm.
Those are just two things I was like, huh. It seemed more ambitious in some of these shots than like Haikyuu or something.
According to Icy in the chat, so I was just reading chat, he said that the sexism part of the show wasn't apparently representative of the actual sport, and that rubbed people the wrong way because it was forced drama. I should probably say that I don't know anything about competitive dancing, so I don't know anything about the actual rules of it. So I could definitely see if you're really into that sport and they did represent it the wrong way. Definitely, I could see that. Unfortunately, I just don't know anything about competitive dancing. I'm sorry.
I mean, the question, yeah, I would think there's a difference between like, did they represent it too much in like the way the relationships were, or like objectively does the scoring not work that way?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
Because it seemed like a lot of the sexism presented as in, well, this is just how the system is. Like,
yeah.
But clearly we are both a little bit in the dark of dance. But I felt like I learned a lot about it. There's so many little touches of like, our main character he's a very perceptive guy. He's very observant. And that wasn't just like a hand wavy thing. They like put a lot of little details to his like other life. Like he was a really good waiter because he was perceptive and observant. And there's a lot of little moments like that where it's like, I could see how this, same with other characters where they were away in the dance and it kind of bled out to their outside life. I thought that helped just add that extra layer of realism in this delicious dancing sandwich.
Also, I do want to say that the dance routines are awful. Yeah,
but I don't care about dance, so there you go.
True, but I'm saying that like I went into this, like I just said, I don't know. I only had a very basic understanding of what these dances looked like, but because during the dance routines, it focuses so much on their face. There's stills. The crowd doesn't really move much, it's going into like people in the crowd and hearing like their comments, like taking all the focus away from the dancing. And like I went in feeling like I only have a basic understanding what these dances look like, and I went out of it like I still don't know what these dances look like.
I mean, it's kind of the same way
for sports
with
anime.
like Sakura Quest, where I was like, oh, I want to know more about the town. Like this, we got like, we didn't get like the sharp turns of the tango, or like a lot of like, oh, how does the salsa compare to like the waltz? Like we've had it described to us, but you do realize you have a whole medium where you can play music and show visual images that will convey that image better than characters saying, this is a quick dance. Why not show us that? It was a lot of tell, not show. And another thing is 70% of the time, they weren't even playing the music that they were dancing to. They were just playing generic soundtrack hype B part 2. Like they weren't, very few times they played the soundtrack and even showed any kind of routine.
Yeah.
And it felt weird because at the end, they were very heavy-handed with when these two different groups are dancing. They say, oh, this is the history, the classical way of dance. And these people are revolutionary and they're changing it and doing all these cool things. Which style is going to win out? But they don't show any revolutionary dance. We just say, they keep on saying, oh, it's so different, it's so new, it's so oddball. But we get none of that. None of that comes through to me. Like, you can tell me that because I don't know anything about dance, but show me at the same time. And I think we both are in the same page of, I'm not let down because I didn't come here for the dance. And I often say that the best sports show make you want to do the sport. I don't really need to dance. I'm okay. I got it. We're good here. But I mean, I guess objectively, I did dance with my family while we were watching. So I guess it counts for something. But only because they had taken like Ballroom before, so they knew like the steps. Like I learned more 5 minutes with my family, learning some steps than I did watching the show for the most part. So it's weird because I liked everything about the show except for the sport itself proper being represented. But since I didn't mind that, I guess it didn't hamper my enjoyment. Yeah,
you ready to score? We do kind of move along.
So.
Warning for people who are watching live, this is going to be a much longer episode than normal because we still have Sarazanmai to get through.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess because I watched it so recently, I had lots to say. I've been waffling between a 3.5 and a 4 on this. I think I'm gonna go 4. I think.
Oh man, this is a first.
I think we're gonna go the first 4 out of 5, boys. It's a real thing. We're doing it. It was way beyond what I was expecting, and I don't know. I enjoyed pretty much almost every moment of it.
I think for me, I'd give it a 3.5. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting to go in this and be like just tearing it apart because of all of the bad feedback that I was hearing from it. And then I went into it, I was like, you know what? Maybe it's because I went in with such low expectations that I was like, it wasn't that bad at all.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just like, for that inevitable collapse. And it started to happen. I was like, oh, here we go. But it kind of pulled back with like a kind of good flashback. It was a little too anime with the relationship between the two characters who used to be a pairing, but I don't know. It made it through and it did good time.
Yeah, I think for a sports anime, it's not a great sports anime, but I like the characters a lot. And that's pretty much what kept me coming back to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's all of our reviews for that. Now we're going to just jump into a trivia news break because we're going to go on long, guys. So why don't we start off with that? So
you have another chance to redeem yourself if you got that wrong. And this one goes. In the anime Sarazanmai, the Otter Cops, Mabu and Reo, are voiced by 2 very well-known seiyuu. Who are these voice actors? I don't know if I could get this one. I'm not in the weeds, but I know you got it.
Because I wrote it.
I'm not gonna spoil. Well, you would have gotten it regardless. So, listener, please prove you're better than me and smarter and a better voice. So please stick around, and we'll give you the answer in just a few.
Hey you anime addicts, welcome to your second anime news break. So while looking through the news this week, I realized that we are getting an awful lot of live action anime and manga adaptations. So why don't we dive in and see what we have coming up? The very first one, speaking of diving, is Grand Blue Dreaming. Kodansha announced on Wednesday that Kenji Inoue and Kimitaka Yoshiaka's Grand Blue Dreaming comedy manga is inspiring a live-action film that will open in Japan in early summer of 2020. Tsutomu Hanabusa, who previously worked on the live-action 3D Kanojo Real Girl, the live-action of Kakegurui, and the live-action of Asahi Nagu, is directing the film with the production company The Fool, and Warner Brothers Japan is distributing it. So for those who are not aware of Grand Blue Dreaming or haven't heard of it, it's a comedy manga about quote-unquote diving, but really it's about naked booze-fueled shenanigans of college students. It's very silly, and I'm very curious to see what this is like in live action. Up next, we have the live-action Wotakoi Love is Hard for Otaku, and it released its first teaser trailer. The trailer reveals and previews the musical numbers by Evangelion and Shin Godzilla composer Shiro Sagisu. The trailer also reveals that Yumi Wakatsuki will play the serious Fujoshi character who cosplays as a game character, and Mio Imada will play the stylish colleague of Narumi. The manga story centers around the awkward romantic comedy between Narumi, a female office worker who hides her Fujoshi lifestyle, and Hirotaka, a handsome and capable company man who is secretly a game otaku. The film will open on February 7th of 2020. Yuichi Fukuda is directing the film, who previously worked on the live action of Gintama. After that, we have Akiko Higashimura's Himawari Kenichi Legend Office comedy manga, and that's getting a live-action show next spring. The television series will celebrate the 50th anniversary of Miyazaki TV, because the original manga story is set in Higashimura's native Miyazaki prefecture. The manga centers on the office antics of Akiko and her father Kenichi, collectively called the two Kenichis, who both work for the same telephone company in southern Kyushu. Higashimura's Princess Jellyfish and Tokyo Tarareba Girls have also both previously inspired live-action adaptations. So this is one that I'm definitely looking forward to, because I love Princess Jellyfish and Tokyo Tarareba Girls, so I'm definitely going to check this one out. And finally, the live-action Saint Young Men series is getting a third season on January 11th and January 18th. The new season will air 5 episodes on each day. In addition, the second half of the show's second season will air on January 25th. That's because the season's second half was originally scheduled to air on October 12th, but was delayed due to the typhoon. This comedy manga, for those who are not familiar with Saint Young Men, it imagines if Buddha and Jesus shared a low-rent Tokyo apartment together. It's a charming manga, and I'm very curious to see the live action. I have not watched them myself, but I would love to try them out. So thank you for coming to this second anime news break. We have a lot of live actions to look forward to. Hopefully we'll get some good ones, but who knows? We'll see when they come out. So let's get back to the show.
After a tough day at work, I just want to veg out on the internet. I wonder what kind of weird hentai goods JList.com has on sale.
Kazuo, what are you looking at?
Oh, well, this is embarrassing. It was JList.com.
What was that? Go back to it.
Oh, that was an anime boob mouse pad.
Really? Has it come to that, Kazuo?
Hell no, man. I'm keeping it real. But JList keeps it real, too. Real perverted. They've got hyper-realistic boob mouse pads, sexy pillows, naughty calendars and anime figures, and an array of Tenga products.
Did somebody say Tenga?
Good God. Where'd you come from?
That's right, my bald, mid-30-something anime grumpy pants man.
Damn, I love Tenga.
Has it come to that, Mitz?
Hell no, Enzo. I just love to feel the embrace of a Tenga egg when I stretch it over...
Whoa. Okay, now.
Over my bald head?
I think that's even weirder.
Head over to JList.com and get yourself set up with some of the finest Japanese adult products.
Hey, Steve Bloom here, voice of Spike Spiegel, Vincent Valentine, Leron from Gurren Lagann, Guillerman from Digimon, and a bunch of other crap. And I am a total anime addict, dude. Tune in, or else.
And we are back. So before we went on break, we had an in-show trivia question. And that question was, in the anime Sarazanmai, which we're about to do a review on, the otter cops Mabu and Ryo are voiced by two very well-known seiyuu. Who are their voice actors? And the answer is Mamoru Miyano and Hosoyo Yoshimasa. And the two are also working together on another currently airing anime, Chihaya Furu, where Mamoru is playing Taichi and Hosoya is playing Arata. What an interesting pair.
What a wild duo.
Yeah.
I assume you have their song as your like
as like my alarm? I wish. So I was planning on trying to find mini cop hats to put on my ferrets so I could have them for this review. I couldn't find mini cop hats. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. We applaud the effort as long as we can get them.
The thought is what matters.
The thought is what matters, because we all know it'd be so impractical to actually get them situated.
Yeah, you saw him running around earlier during Hobby
He's
Addicts.
moving today. He cannot be contained.
No, he was all over the place. He was chasing the cat. He was in the water bowl. He was on my sofa. He was all over the place.
He's running around, but he's also giving us our 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
So we should do that.
Is he? My favorites could write 5-star reviews? Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and do our 5-star review? I'm looking for the drop. There we go.
It's time for iTunes review.
All right.
Heck yes. So this is called My Fave, and it's done by Kanekiken26, and they write, "Thanks for my addiction worse."
Thanks
You
for
guys
my
are
addiction worse. I think he's making
sometimes I can't tell if I have a stroke or if it's the person typing, but thanks for my addiction worse. You guys are my favorite anime podcast. Keep up the good work.
I think that I think they meant making.
Yeah, probably. This, you know what? At the end of the day, if you're like, oh, they missed.
Oh, you're cutting out.
I want to see you do a review. I want you do one, because we will thank you nonetheless, because they're all equal in my eyes. So thank you very much. And,
yes, thank you very much.
Hopefully, this episode of giving you like 5 reviews will make one of these shows seem appealing. You'll certainly have a worse anime addiction. I will say, I watched Ballroom last night. The family, we were talking. I was asking, "Oh, what are your scores about it? What do you guys think?" And my dad was like, "Oh, I haven't seen enough anime to like score stuff. Like, how many have you seen? Like, how many 10 out of 10s have you given Mason?" He says, Mason, my son. And I was like, "Oh, I've probably like 1% of shows I've seen give a 10 out of 10 to." And he's like, "Well, how many have you given a 10 to?" And I was like, "Oh, I've given 7." And there was definitely a moment of concern, of despair on his face when he's like,
How did I raise this son?
That means that he's seen like 700 shows. That's not.
Oh, gotcha.
Gotcha. So make your anime addiction worse, but do it responsibly, please. Don't disappoint people otherwise. But besides that, let's get into this.
Yeah, so today we're doing a review on Sarazanmai. This was one of Enzo's shows, but he could not come here, unfortunately. We miss him very much. But Sarazanmai is by the one and only Ikuhara, who is very well known in the anime community for a lot of really bizarre anime, such as Revolutionary Girl Utena, Mawaru Penguin Drum. There was the what was the lesbian bear one? Arashi or Kuma.
Yeah.
Kuma Arashi. I actually haven't seen that one. I should watch that one though. But yeah, so this was one of his newer ones, and it was adapted by Studio Mappa. And so Sarazanmai is about, on the very basic, very surface level, it's about 3 young boys who come across a kappa named Kepi, and after confusing it with a frog, Kepi
Common mistake.
Kepi transforms them into kappa and tells them that their world is being attacked by these monsters, and the only way to defeat them is to tear out their Shiro Kurama, which is
their desire.
Yes, if you're not aware of yokai lore, he's not. I was gonna say Ikuhara is pulling this out of his ass. Ikuhara's not pulling this out of his ass. It's actually part of yokai lore. How appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he is. He's pulling everything out of everyone's ass.
Listen, he's got a thing for butts, and he's letting us know.
Anyways, but by doing so. But, oh man, this is going to be this whole review, isn't it?
I'm sorry. We're really falling behind the ball on this one.
Anyways, by doing so, they can collect dishes, and with enough dishes, they can use them to grant one of their wishes. And so that's the very, very basic surface level plot. In like any Ikuhara show, there is so much more going on. And Ikuhara likes to use a lot of visual metaphors and these bizarre circumstances to criticize some part or aspect of society. And with this one, he is using the folklore of these yokai legends to communicate his views and message. So why don't we go ahead and go into expectations? Take it away.
Yeah, take it away, me. So obviously there's a couple people in like the anime sphere who really deserve the term like the one and only that Mandy mentioned, and Ikuhara is one of them. He's one of those people you can't like not have an opinion on his stuff. Like he's very much a love it or hate it kind of guy. I mean,
I'm a love it. I'm a love it person.
I am a mostly love it. I think the first I saw of his was Penguin Drum, and I absolutely adore that. I think that's phenomenally done. Went back and watched Utena. I think it's not quite my aesthetic, but it's very fitting of the lore, especially back when it was done. Definitely pushed. Like, it's very experimental, and I always have a soft spot for people who take risk. And Sarazanmai only doesn't feel like a risk because it's him, but if it was anyone else, it would be like, what is going on? I also have not seen Yuri Kumarashi. But so all I was expecting is I'm going to see bombastic visuals. I'm going to get songs stuck in my head because they're going to sing the same song and dance over multiple episodes.
Ume, Moko Shiroku. I still have the Utsuno one stuck in my head because every damn so episode.
It's weird because it's like a perverse like pop thing, because like pop gets into your head because it repeats, and it's just like the repetition is what makes it good. And usually I'm very like, oh, the second you start repeating things and elements, I'm just very against it. But the way he just continually twists things and like distorts them and modifies them just enough to be like, we're marching towards something. It's good. And that's really all I wanted out of the show.
I want to point out real quick that Mason just said, I'm not one for repeating stuff, but he really liked Haruhi.
Okay. I think I've said this on the show before. Endless 8 is great.
You are very supportive of that.
Everybody should watch the Endless 8 once, because it's very similar. Okay, that's not true.
One is like a minute long, the other is like 24 minutes long.
And perverses it, and it's great. And it's definitely worth watching. Endless 8, Haruhi.
I'm just giving you shit. I'm sorry.
As you should. I've gone unchecked for too long. But so that's just what I was going into Sarazanmai. I just wanted more of that, and I got more of that.
Basically, yeah, the same. My expectations going in were Ikuhara. About it.
Do the thing.
I knew there was some butt stuff, so I was excited to see what happened.
I mean, it's like watching a Shaft show with Shinbo, and it's like, I'm going to set some rapid fire texts and head tilts. I'm watching a Yuasa thing. I'm going to expect people reaching their hand out towards the light. Like, there's certain staples that are like, I expect, and they deliver them, and I say, yes, that's exactly what I want. I feel content. And yeah, so if you don't like Ikuhara, you can stop listening now, most likely, because this isn't going to change your...
Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into our spoiler-free recommendations.
I don't know. So when we went to review this, I went to my anime list and I'm like, what did I rate it? And I looked at my score and it said, select your score. Because I've just been ruminating on the show still. Like, I didn't watch it and say, oh, that's great. That's such and such, or that was such a disappointment. Like, it's just every day I feel like I have a slightly different like feeling about where it lied in different episodes. And I just, if you want something different, if you want something more experimental, if you want something that has a message that is fully layers of yokai lore and comedy and just extravagance, give it a shot. I'd say, I mean, very quickly you'll find out if this show is for you or not. It's mostly episodic, but there's enough of an overarching story that it doesn't feel like you're not progressing. Give it a shot. I don't know. You know if you'll like the show or not.
Yeah, if you like Ikuhara, for sure, check it out. If you need your stories to be very direct, like you need a very straightforward story, this might not be for you, because there is the very surface level one, and I think you can enjoy it based on that, but there is a lot more underneath the surface where you have to peel back the layers and like look at all of the visual metaphors and try to figure out,
definitely.
okay, what is Ikuhara trying to say? So there is, like all Ikuhara series, a political message here, or like a criticism, something that he's trying to inject his views on some part of society into his anime, using this very bizarre story to spread that message. And I really enjoyed it, but I know it's not going to be for everybody. It's definitely going to be like, are you okay with this? If you're just like, if you really love shonen shows and you just need action and you need like a very straightforward story, this isn't going to be for you.
No,
if you like something,
it has.
Sorry.
This is the ginger of the sushi trade. This is very much a flavor of its own.
Yeah,
it's very refreshing. It's very cleansing. Not good. It's not a whole meal in itself, but it has that thing. And if you don't like it, it's just. Don't bother with it.
Yeah.
I do want to mention also, like, for impressions, there was a bunch of PVs that originally came out with like these animated characters over like realistic shots, and Kazuo and I were like, "Oh my goodness, is this what the show is going to look like?" We were getting really amped about it, and unfortunately, it's mainly just for select scenes in the ED. So I was like really hyped for it
to be visually, like in real world.
Yeah, like a weird like mixed media kind of thing. But overall, the visuals were pretty darn good, even though they weren't quite what I was expecting out of the PV. But anyway, that's it. I think we can move on to spoilers.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go into our spoilers. So I'm going to play the spoiler drop. You have until the end of it to get out and go watch the show and come back and listen to this later.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god.
There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and jump on in. So there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Literally from Amazon. Capazon.
From Capazon, whatever.
Yeah. So
the floating boxes.
Yeah, I had a decent amount of notes on it because I was like, man, these are thoughts I've had for a while. Because I watched this when it was airing. So I was like, man, there is so much that I want to touch on, that things that I noticed, and I'm curious if anyone else noticed them, because I was expecting us to have all of us here for this review. Yeah. But I just have you. So.
I'm sworn to carry your burdens.
I'm very happy you're here, though. So, yeah, for here, I noticed two different kind of messages being on display. One is that it's okay to have desires and the importance of communication, while also criticizing how media uses and fetishizes sexual minorities to sell products. And also a little bit of like the dangers of materialism to like make yourself happy in like replacing the need to form bonds with others, hence the Capazon shit in there. But yeah,
I feel like overall a lot of the, essentially it's very episodic in the sense that there's very much issues that the characters are dealing with in each episode, and they kind of go on to the next one and have a different issue. The amount of like stuff and issues that they present, deal with, and like move on from in each one of these episodes could have been the theme of an entire show across like a full core season. Like, they very much quickly get to the heart of matters, how it affects all the parties involved, and how they move or don't move on from those things. And it's very rapid fire with all these things that just continually pile on top of the characters, and kind of, because they're coming so rapid fire, they weigh down on you as well. So by the time the series ends, you're feeling all of these like this jungle juice of emotions that have been poured into each
jungle juice,
just like waiting to burst. And it's such a, I don't know, it's not so deep in that these themes are, fully fleshed out and explored, but more deep in that there's just so much happening at once that you can consider if you want to get into these characters' minds, that it feels heavy in the themes it's trying to talk about.
So my favorite characters in this were the cops, Mabu and Rio. I really liked the like the themes behind them, because I think a lot of the some of the themes are driven home by them. They're quote unquote like villains. That's how it portrays them at the beginning. But they are the otter police, and I love saying that because I love all the otter puns
not
too.
laugh at that.
All the otter puns are great. Utterly disappointing. Come on, 10 out of 10 anime.
10 out of 10. I love it.
So the otter police shoot their victims after asking them, is it love or desire that they have? And they transform them into these giant monsters. And their victims are all different types of people who have trouble connecting with others, and so they get transformed into monsters. And when you do get to see a glimpse inside their hearts, when our trio confronts them, we see each victim has some kind of like harmless fetish, but the otters twist and transform that desire into something very monstrous and to be seen as wrong. And over the course of the show, we do find out that Mabu and Rio were definitely lovers, and the Otter Empire does what it can to silence that love. And when Mabu dies during heavy spoilers here. Mabu dies and is brought back as an emotionless puppet, we learn that the condition to coming back was to remain silent. And in the end, they just become cops that are continuing on that status quo. And they kind of become their own enemies. And the scene, which was my favorite scene, probably I think out of all the anime community, I see a lot of people talk about the scene that really shines a light on just what Sarazanmai is trying to say, is when Mabu finally tells Rio that he loves him, his mechanical heart stops beating. But for their honesty, they're turned into wedding bands, free from the system that is oppressing them. And I think in general, it's a very critical look at the yaoi genre, because I've been very vocal in the past about some yaoi shows that I hated because they center around very highly abusive relationships. They're very ambiguous. They don't there are a lot that I hate. There are some that I like, but there are a lot that I hate because they're not romance shows. They're more of
it's very much, look at this yaoi show we made, and you're like, what about that issue and that issue?
Yeah,
and
it's more of
kick them under the rug. You're like, but the yaoi, it's like, no, you're missing the whole rest of it.
Yeah, they're mostly fetish catered towards the female audience. And many of these shows end, like I was saying, end with very ambiguous relationships where, now they're just friends still. They're never like, no, we're actually in a loving relationship. And we see that here with the otters. They're being used as part of the status quo to carry that opinion on, and that desire isn't like being considered normal by society standards, and it's being considered monstrous, and so they're silenced and not allowed to express their love for one another. And when they finally do, Mabu dies, and the Otter Empire has deemed them unworthy of existing. And it's like I really liked how Ikuhara, it's not even like the main central theme, but I really liked their entire story and what Ikuhara was trying to say with that. At least that was my take on it.
I mean, I would say their story very much, for the first half of the series, is very baseline and very, I would say, pandering to that kind of, hot guys and cop
voiced by Mamoto Miyato. Hold on.
Yeah, like, we're checking all your people, guys, we know what you want. Look at these hot boys. Oh my goodness, they're doing the thing you girls like. But it definitely takes a while for it to dig into what you're talking about. Because like you say, it does present that like baseline like most other shows do. And it's just like, these are just kind of side antagonist characters. But then the second like falls off the cliff and gets deep into the issues and their situation, like it kind of lies in waiting for a while. Like it very much just is focusing on the three younger main characters and kind of their issues.
Yeah.
And kind of it's just lying in the wait. And then I don't know. So it's like they don't feel like main characters until they need to be. So I agree with pretty much all your points. I think I don't disagree that it was a take on the genre and kind of how much there is wrong with the genre and just in general the Japanese system of suppress. It's nothing. Everything is a lie. Everyone's normal. All that kind of stuff. Because that's not a word. It's like just people are the way they are, and you don't try to. I don't know.
Not that they're all bad. There are some great ones out there, but
yeah, no, exactly, and not. There
definitely is a problem though with like some, especially older ones.
yeah.
But yeah. As for the other three, but it starts. Our three main protagonists, they have their own issues as well with communication issues, and I think that's the other side of like what Ikuhara is trying to say with this is that how important it is to communicate with each others and create those bonds, connect with people. Because, like, Toei, I think his name is Toei. I haven't watched this. I didn't get time to refresh myself because I spent my whole week watching Welcome to the Ballroom and finishing Juuni Taisen.
Toei is the gangster younger brother. Yeah, the darker dude. Yeah.
Yeah, involved with a lot of crime because of his brother. Enta is in love with Kazuki, and he's scared to tell him because he doesn't want Kazuki to end up hating him. And Kazuki is haunted by the guilt of his brother's accident, and each of them are unable to properly communicate with each other and refuse to do so until the story forces them to. In the Kappa form, they're forced to connect with each other and share that information. And
they're forced to like share like what they're hiding.
Yeah.
And like these like feelings you've been trying to suppress and trying to hide and trying to quell, like they kind of are forced to share that with one another and then kind of go through the ramifications of that.
Yeah.
And I mean every episode title is I want to connect, but and then the reason why but actually
we haven't touched on the butt stuff at all.
We will talk about the butt stuff, but the best pun of this entire show is episode 4. I think the person that they're like dealing with like ran like a soba shop or something, and the titles of the show all come at the very end. So you watch the entire show. It says, the show ends. It comes in with this like really cool distortion for the ending song, and like snaps you awake, and it says like. Then it gives you the title and says, I want to connect, but ... And it's great and it's super cool. And the end of the Soba episode, the title is, I want to connect, but you're so far away. And the way you say so far away in Japanese is essentially saying, but you are not close. And the way you say close in Japanese is soba. So it's like, I want to connect, soba... ni and I.
That's kind of cute.
So like they managed to fit in soba like within the title of the soba episode.
Aww.
And I was like, ooh, that was really well done. I'm a big fan.
So
yeah, sorry, I just had to go on that tangent.
No, I like it. I enjoy it. Thank you. I also jumped in directly into what I wanted to talk about as soon as we started. I was like, I've had this all like on my chest. I want to get it off.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say like we have these main characters and otters.
Otters, the best.
Exactly.
It's otter dancing, but
their otter dance so smooth, so fancy.
Yeah, I liked how every episode is this, like we said, like Ikuhara, it's the same song, but it does change in some way, and I thought it was. I always like trying to compare and see which one, what changed in this one.
both like lyrically, like sometimes the pitches change. Visually, there's lots of adjustments, a lot of. These two guys used to be singing, now they're singing the same song. One of the guys, like, maybe is injured, so he's just not there in the song, and the song just feels empty, and it just has, like, a harrowing effect because they build up your repetition. You get used to the pattern, so when they break it, it's that much more impactful.
Yeah, so, speaking of butt stuff, I thought one note that I thought was really funny is that Ikuhara said in an interview that when he announced the idea to his team, he was wholeheartedly expecting them to deny it, and he had a backup plan ready, and they were like, no, it's cool. He was like, you guys are okay with this? Really? He was not expecting it to go through.
When we were saying that little frog people reach into dudes' butts and pull out beads and stand above
it's
butt
their
cheeks, gloriously holding up the ball of desire with a triumphant gleam shining down on them and the crack that lays beneath. I'm not exaggerating. Like this isn't me saying, oh, you get like the illusion or the word that means that they're not actually showing it, but you know, it actually is being shown. You actually see it all, and it is interesting, and it's very in line with how kappas actually like pull out the ball of energy that is your soul,
Yeah.
the lore of Japanese, tales. So it's
Ikuhara isn't pulling it out of his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just pulling it out of other people's ass. Yeah, for those who might not be aware, the Shiri Kodama is actually part of yokai lore, so I don't know, it's interesting that he chose that, because a lot of times we've seen loads of anime with yokai, and they always conveniently ignore that part of the kappa, folklore. They all kind of gloss over it, at least from what I've seen. I'm sure there are other ones out there that have touched on it, especially hentai. But for the most part, they kind of ignore that. He's like, nah, I'm throwing everything in there. But, yeah, what else about the main characters did you like?
I like their designs. I like their looks. They usually try to have good intent. Like, none of the characters were, like, aggravating to watch. They were just kind of, like, connect. Like, the whole point of the show was we're suffering with them and their inability to reveal their secret.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the whole, like, soccer backstory was kind of wishy-washy. I could have done without it, essentially. Just saying there's, these aren't just random main characters. They knew each other from this dream to all be on the same soccer team. And there was kind of a thing with that I thought wasn't the strongest. It didn't affect the messages of the show, but it seemed like a needless layer that kind of just existed. I wasn't like invested in that plot. You also had a little take on like idol culture with like that whole thing, and like the illusion of communication between the people you look up to, the people you watch, the people you digest versus what you're actually getting. Like every time you're actually communicating with them, it's just kind of a hollow or fake experience. And it's just, I don't know, there's so many little things that turned out better and so many things that I was just like, I could have gone without it, but it didn't subtract from anything.
Yeah. How did you feel about the animation overall? Because I thought it had some really nice parts. There's a lot of scenes with like little tiny details that I felt like they didn't have to do. Like there was one moment where somebody slams a sliding door screen and it bounces back. How many anime would have just had that like end
lock in?
Yeah, not have that recoil. So there were a lot of moments where I was like, that was really like good.
I really like the poppy brightness of it. I don't think there's any moments where wow, the animation like tanked there or like didn't properly convey something. There was no like all like the most impressive like Sakuga scenes. There wasn't a ton, and they were usually like the parts, which is very like typical for his stuff. So I thought it was fine. It definitely was better than it needed to be, and definitely never lagged or took away from stuff. So I liked the look of the show, and there was a lot of CG, but it was well done.
Yeah.
But the boxes were good. A lot of the environments were CG. Trying to remember if the plates were CG, but I think it was mainly just like the background stuff in a lot of the
background
3D sequences or that.
I thought overall I really liked how it looked. How did you feel about the music? I mean, I liked the transformation sequences and their songs. I liked them a lot.
The songs were great. I honestly thought that the main stuff was pretty forgettable, like the background stuff. I don't remember if I even checked out the soundtrack, but it was very much good ending song, good transition songs.
Yeah.
At least fitting with the characters, but the actual like core soundtrack was kind of
same.
Whatever. Like the overall presentation, the production was very strong. I think this is. I'd compare it very much the same look as Penguin.
Yeah.
It was very round. It was very bouncy. It was very bubbly, and it captured the energy well. So I'll give it points for that.
Yeah.
but it didn't have penguins, so
No penguins, but you got butt
no
balls.
penguins. I did get butt balls
You
and
got
butt
otters.
frogs.
Otters are so much better than penguins.
That's
You
no,
can't
I'm
do
sorry.
any puns with penguins, but you can do loads of them with otters. Like in our chat where I gotta move this. Swites, I can't say your name, I'm sorry, but they said significant otters.
Classic. You know, that's all they have going. They're just big ferrets. I know where your heart lies.
Yes.
I feel
They're
like
water
Mappa,
ferrets.
Mappa, which is a studio who did this, has been like killing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They've been just churning out solid works that have been pretty consistent as far as their quality.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen it, and
Same.
I don't know. I feel like I didn't, at the end of the day, though, pull out as deep of a meaning. It didn't make me reflect on myself as much as some of his other works.
Not myself, but it did make me reflect a lot on how media is portraying different.
That's very true.
minorities. I like that part a lot. I think the three main characters, I didn't like them nearly as much as Mabu and Rio, but I don't know. I still enjoyed it though.
I mean, they're kids, and they've got like their intentions are usually to justify it. I think it's weird because I feel like this is a less confusing story than Penguin Drum and Utena. But I feel like there's less of a story to be told. Like, it's very much like the medium is the message. The point is Ikuhara has these opinions to express more than this is a story about three boys who go through a tumultuous time. It's a story of a country going through a tumultuous time, and Ikuhara representing that through the kids. Like, I feel like there's a disconnect between the plot and what
a disconnect
the end point is. Yeah,
it couldn't connect. It wanted to connect, but couldn't.
Connect. I couldn't connect, but how do I write? I don't know. It's one of those things where I remember it fondly, but there's a lot of points that aren't memorable. And I like the thoughts. I like the depth of it. I think it had more than, I don't know. Like, it's very easy to say, like, oh, a show's deep. You got to think to understand it. But then having the depth of that show actually be worth thinking about. A lot of shows are just deep, but they don't have any richness to it. And this one did, but something about it just very similar, I would say, to Sakura Quest, where I watched it and I'm like, this is good. This is what I wanted. But it just didn't live up to a previous work that I was more encaptured with. And that's kind of, I guess, sort of what leads into a score of...
Okay.
I don't know. Do you want to go first?
No, you can go ahead. I think we're ready.
Oh, no. I don't know what I want to score it. Still coughing.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Inspire me.
I mean, I'll try. I don't really have much else to say that I haven't already said. I enjoyed my time with it. I watched it every week, and there are some cliffhangers in there that was like, what? And I was really excited for the next episode. I loved Mabu and Rio, but it does take a while to get to their story. And before that, I did like the three, but for me, it didn't really kick off until towards the end, where Mabu and Rio's, like, we get all that backstory of where they came from. And I liked Kepi. I like a bunch of the weird shit he does in the background, like with pole dancing, and he was like a comedic relief. And I liked all the weird shit that he was doing during very tense moments in the background.
Yeah,
and
the jokes were very adult.
Yes.
A lot of times.
Yeah. And also, big fat grouchy cat stealing weed is really funny.
Garfield in the flesh.
Garfield ate all kinds of weed and took off. Yeah, a bunch of it was very adult. I really enjoyed it. I liked using the weird yokai lore to kind of portray this message, and I thought the animation was really good. And I thought the character designs were nice, and I don't remember a lot of the music outside of the dance, like singing, kind of like the transformation sequences like you have like for Utena. outside of that, I think, I don't know. I think for me, I enjoyed my time with it so much that I'd probably give it 4 grouchy cats out of 5.
Okay.
4 grumpy cats.
4 grumpy cats, grouchy cats. I don't know. Like you said, I think the ending got a while to get there. I think this was better a week-to-week watch where you had that moment of like what's going to happen next, but it gave you a week to kind of ruminate what you had just seen and what do you think is going to go forward. But the next episode was never quite going the path I wanted. I think some of the backstories were just not quite as fleshed out. I think the moment that I was really like, oh, grown was when they get the dish that grants the wish and then they break it. And I was like...
Through fighting?
Through fighting. And then every plate they get after that is, oh, this only counts for like a 10th or a 5th of a plate or something. And there's like bickering between them. And obviously the point of that is you're not going to solve your problems with magical
by wishing
wishes.
Or buying it off Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Like, satisfaction doesn't come that cheaply or that easily. And while I like that message, I don't know if I would recommend this to fans, like, outside of Ikuhara, who, like, to go into this. I wanted to like it more than I did, and it kind of let down. I can't really put my finger on what I didn't sit well with it. So I'm going to give it 3 silver plates out of 5. Because, I don't know. I think maybe if I rewatched it, it could go up. But I'm just trying to connect to it, and I'm just failing.
You want to connect, but you can't.
I want to connect, but something... I don't
someone
have,
to pull out your butt jewel.
I don't have Capazon Prime. Yeah, someone...
I don't have Capazon Prime.
Exactly, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Let's see, where are we at for time?
So,
Wowza.
Yeah, we're a little bit over. But to run through listener
That's
score
okay.
real quick, 28.6% of the votes were 5, 28.6% were 4, and also again, 28.6% was a 3, and then 14.3% was a 2. So the average is 3.7. Normally we round up, so round up to a 4.
Yep.
Comments very quickly. Bad said anime of the year for me. We didn't have many comments, so we can run through these very quickly.
Yeah.
Nuclear Burger said overall it was an entertaining show that was different. I loved the dance sequences, music, and the villain. The aesthetic was refreshing, but I never connected with the show.
Oh my goodness, that's me. Why didn't
Are
I
you
just
Mason Nuclear Burger?
Why didn't you just do the review for me? I would have been way less obnoxious.
We had another comment, but it was anonymous because no one said what their name was, but they said, I didn't expect to get so much feels from this anime, and the OP and ending were so good.
Yes, they were.
Thank you very much for sending in those. The listener
All
scores do help.
Yes, they do.
Skipping over mailbags today because we are very long. I was expecting it with all of the reviews we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for coming, and Mitsuki should be back next week to run things. Hopefully I did.
For the big 500.
Yes.
Guys.
We have surprises, so.
Stuff will happen.
Yeah.
I hope.
And
we will find out.
Hopefully I did an okay job.
Yeah, no, Mandy did a great job. If anything went wrong, blame somebody else, because we tried our best, and that counts.
Yeah. Why don't you head us out?
Don't forget, people, give us those 5 reviews. Join us at aapodcast.com, where you can get all the juicy extra content. I think what we're about to record will be quite another review that is one for the ages. And let us know if you like this blitzkrieg of reviews, because it was kind of fun to clean up all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So please, Discord, join us there. It's a grand old time. iTunes, I said that. Facebook, you know where that is at. Everyone who joined us live on Twitch, thank you for dealing with it, and thanks for sticking around this whole time.
Yeah.
Any personal shoutouts? Where can people find you?
Nope, you can find me on Twitter at AAA_Mandy with an I. And thank you for coming. We'll see y'all next week.
Yes, indeed.
Bye, guys.
People, have a good one. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
See you next time.